Speaker.
Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and that will promote the interests of the people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en al ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat u ons sal help om al ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikelela lezo letu na bantu balu. Umusile ukulungo kwepondo letu. Nkosi sikelela i-Afrika, thina abantwana bayo, kokela inkokelezayo, yeniki uxolo i-Afrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. Order members, before we proceed with the order of the day or the sitting, allow me an opportunity to welcome all the guests in the gallery, in particular the women from the Mandalay Methodist Church, Manyano, who are joining us here today, and all other guests in the gallery. Welcome to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. I hope you will enjoy the sitting today. Honourable members, before we proceed, I would like to remind you of some of the logistical arrangements. As has been our practice to date, honourable members participating in the sitting on the House, both here from the Chamber with the presiding officer and table staff and via Microsoft Teams, and our standing rules have accordingly been amended to accommodate such hybrid sittings. Honourable members, if you experience challenges in connecting to the sitting, you are requested to contact the WCPP ICT colleagues who will assist you to resolve the connectivity. Members, the quorum requirements for the sitting of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules, and unless there's an indication of unanimous concurrence, voting will be confined to members present in the House and the hybrid system who are entitled to cast their votes as per the ATC issued on the 11th of August 2020. Is that glitch dealt with? Honourable members who are present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams, you have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Members who are considered out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and called to order. The Sergeant at Arms have recorded members' attendance. Honourable members, I wish to remind you that where these directives do not cover a particular eventuality, the standing rules will apply, and in instances where these rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. All microphones have been muted. However, for those honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams, you are requested to use the raise hand functionality of the system when you desire to raise a point of order, and I will recognise you. When an honourable member in the chamber wishes to raise a point of order, such an honourable member may address the presiding officer as expected, but must mute their microphones when they have completed speaking. Honourable members, the media have also been granted access to the MS Teams meetings as guests of the WCPP. However, I wish to remind members of the press that they may not use the chat room function or speak or activate their cameras while the sitting is in progress. If an individual member who is not a member of this House activates their microphone and video camera, such an individual member will be exited from the sitting immediately. I request that those members or members of the public who are joining us here today, who are not members of the House, to please observe the decorum of the House. For the sitting honourable members, language translation services are available in the chamber as usual and on Microsoft Teams via the respective channels. Honourable members, I wish to draw and remind you that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sittings, and to this end, I wish to draw your attention to Rule 40 of our standing rules. With that being said, honourable members, we will move straight into interpellations as per Rule 197, and I recognise the Honourable Minister, Minister Murray.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Member Kama, for this question. The impact of closure of sport and recreation facilities. As you've asked, the closure of sport and recreation facilities in a province can have several significant impacts. Firstly, our health and well-being. Sport and recreation facilities play a vital role in promoting physical activity and overall well-being. Closure of these facilities can lead to reduced opportunities for exercise and leisure, potentially contributing to a sedentary lifestyle, which may lead to various health issues. Secondly, community engagement. Sport facilities serve as gathering places for the community, fostering social interactions and community engagement. The closure can lead to a loss of community cohesion and a decline in social connections. Thirdly, economic impact. Sport and recreation facilities often support local economies by attracting visitors, generating revenue, and creating jobs. Closure can have a negative economic impact on businesses and individuals depending on these facilities. Further, our youth development, sport facilities provide opportunities for youth to participate in organized sport, promoting discipline, teamwork, and leadership skills. Closure can limit these opportunities for young people. Also, talent development. These facilities often serve as training grounds for athletes, contributing to talent development in various sports. Closure may hinder the growth and development of athletes in the region. And the second part, how does the department intervene to prevent these closures? We intervene. Sport facilities falls within the ambit of municipalities as indicated in Schedule 5B of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The decision to close sport facilities resides with the municipality in which municipal area the facility is located. To prevent the closure of sport and recreation facilities, the generally employs several strategies. Firstly, advocacy. The department advocates for the importance of sport and recreation facilities to municipalities who are the owners and in many instances the operators of the facilities and the public, emphasizing the social, economic and health benefits they bring to the community. Secondly, public-private partnerships. Nothing prohibits municipalities to collaborate with private entities, community organizations, or non-profit groups to help share the financial burden and ensure sustainable management of sport facilities to keep them open. Municipalities can liaise with the local communities, including users and stakeholders, to provide valuable insights into the importance of these facilities, potentially rallying support to keep them open. A good example here is golf courses, which is maintained by the members with no or little support from the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Kama.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thanks to the MEC for that reply. And I must state it, Honorable Speaker, that it's quite difficult to understand the direction that this government is taking, because on one hand, it would come to this house and say, we're going to use this department in our strides to fight crime. We're going to use this department as a lead department for youth development, for all these things. But when you ask such critical questions, you get to be told that no, it's the city that manages this or that. But Speaker, on the 8th of February 2021, the bodies of 4 children aged between 11 and 13 were recovered by emergency officials after they fell into a hole under a bridge along the N2 highway at the Botchals Quarry turn off close to Nyanga. The tragic death of these 4 children was a wake-up call to the provincial government and the city of Cape Town to do more to provide children in poor working-class communities with safe and healthy spaces to play. Sports and recreation facilities are essential for the well-being of our children, and this DA government is not doing enough to invest in them. There is a general shortage of sports and recreational facilities in the Cape Flats. This is a major problem, and as we look at it, it means that children and young people have nowhere to go to play and be active. This can lead to boredom, truancy, and crime. In the recent released crime statistics, Gugulethu is number 4 nationally and the 2nd highest in the province for reported murders. It is also in the top 30 stations for drug-related crimes, as well as for the possession of illegal firearms and ammunition. In light of the above, the ANC is gravely concerned about the City of Cape Town's decision to cancel the lease agreement with the Gugulethu Sports and Development Trust for a piece of land used by the community for sports and recreation. This piece of land was an important resource used by the community for various sporting activities, including soccer and netball for decades. The decision by the DA to close down this facility, which is a vital space in the community for children to play and stay away from social ills, is a grave tragedy. This decision by the DA will only make the problem of youth unemployment and crime even worse. It is in this regard that I want to ask the MEC, how has the head department intervened in this reckless decision of a party in the city, and how will she prevent future closures of sporting facilities in the province? I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. I recognize the Honourable Bosman.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the Minister for that very comprehensive answer as well. Minister, as it's become very clear that the Western Cape, especially the city of Cape Town, has some of the most world-class facilities that are able to host massive international sporting events like we've seen with the netball, and also the extension of that where communities were able to participate in the netball through the community-led viewing centers across the province. Where we look specifically at just this year alone, where we've had a bunch of international sporting events such as the Women's Cricket World Cup, the Netball World Cup, the EPRI, which was voted as the best in the world, as well as the Under-19 Rugby World Cup, which took place in a working class township of Athlone. And just recently, the Western Cape government has also announced that it secured the spot to host as being the host nation for the 2028 UCI Motorbike World Cup. We're looking forward to this event, and we're also looking forward to your department including more Western Cape municipalities and working class communities in these events. We're hoping that the Western Cape will also be able to host a number of international events in future, such as the 2027 FIFA Soccer World Cup. But Minister, since the spokesperson for the ANC on safety, sports and culture struggles to understand how the department promotes safe and healthy spaces for children, can you perhaps tell us about the type of activities that take place after school at the mass centers, and also perhaps inform the House on the impact that the cut by the national government of 31.47% the 31.47% decrease on the mass participation and sport development grant, what impact does that have on municipalities' ability to secure stadiums and to provide safe spaces for young people in the Western Cape? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bosman. I now recognize the Honorable Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. And the Minister did give an adequate reply to the question on sport facilities in the province. But Minister, as you pointed out, that this is in the domain of municipalities. What I want to know as the ACDP is, as the previous speaker said, you know, your department does more. It's not contained to sporting facilities. You do much more. Can you elaborate? You know, because the big question here is that we want to get our youngsters to participate in sport and not crime. So how do you divert youth of not falling prey to crime, but rather use their abilities to excel in sport? I'm quite surprised that the coach, Honorable De Villiers, is not debating on this. I think he is most probably the most capable person to speak on this, and he's not speaking on this. So, Minister, give us guidance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christians. Order members. Order members. I now recognize the Honorable Class.
Yes, Speaker. The development of sports and creation infrastructure plays a very important role in the society, more especially in a deeply divided society such as our, where the result of past injustice continue to manifest themselves to create an ever-growing inequality gap. The majority of the Black and the Colored communities in the Western Cape still lack sporting facilities, which cater for different sporting codes and compared to those areas in the Leaf suburb codes as compared to those where majority of white people reside. Our children in the townships grow longing in participating in sporting codes of their interest, but the reality is that they only see facility catering for those sporting codes only on TV, as the racist DA-led government is not willing to build good sporting facility in those areas. In Gugulethu, efforts made by the Black people to build a proper sporting facility was dented by the DA provincial government in concern with the city of Cape Town. When
Honorable
they
Class,
cancelled-
can you please conclude?
Okay, let us conclude. What is the
Order,
minister
members.
doing to work with the other departments such as infrastructure and education to make sure that Black and Colored township and schools have proper school facilities?
Thank you, Honorable
which
Class.
can cater
Please take
for
your
different
seat. Your
sporting
time has
codes?
expired.
It is
Thank
the
you very
view-
much. Thank you very much, Honorable Class. I now recognize Honorable Kama. Order members.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm not surprised at the contributions of the chair of the committee. It clearly demonstrates who this government serves. Because I'm talking about sporting facilities in our poor townships. It tells me about world-class events.
Honorable Class, please take your seat. Honorable Chief Whip, is that a point of order?
That's a point of order. Thank you very much, Deputy, or rather Speaker. Speaker, I move on Rule 196 that deals with admissibility of questions and interpellations. It clearly states at 2B that it must be specific. And 3C speaks to not expressing a point of view. And I believe that is what the Honorable Kama is doing. Can you please rule? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Chief Whip, I'll listen carefully, but the Honorable Kama is still in his first few seconds of his second opportunity. So, Honorable Kama, you may continue.
Surely, Speaker, what the people of Khayelitsha, Gugulethu, Manenberg know as a netball court is that field that is no longer used, not maintained, it's occupied by gangsters. So the closure of these sporting facilities will have a number of negative consequences for the community, including depriving young people of a safe and accessible space to play sports and stay active. 3 years after the February 8th, 2021 tragedy, scores of children from Nyanga, Gugulethu, and surrounds still have to go to the open fields along the N2 to find spaces to play. This is a major concern, given the high levels of crime and violence in the area. The reckless decision by the DA in the city is a slap in the face of the Development Trust, which has done a tremendous job to develop the land, to the state-of-art sport facility and managed it for nearly 20 years. The closure of this facility is particularly appalling, especially given the state of other sports and recreational facilities in Gugulethu as well. Because in a memorandum they submitted, Speaker, to the City of Cape Town, they highlighted that stadiums in NY 116 and NY 95 are vandalized. Luyolo Community Hall of NY 126 has been invaded for about 5 years now. The swimming pools of NY 117 Vulindlela and NY 62 Mtonjeni have been dry and closed before COVID-19 for about more than 5 years now. The NY 95 sporting field is a mess, and the change rooms have become a haven for criminals. This field is not maintained. There's no fencing. There are no lights. This is the case for all sporting facilities or recreational facilities in the Cape Flats. While we understand the need of the community health facility in the area, it is, however, unfortunate that the city has identified and disposes of this historic
Honorable
and
Kama,
important.
your time has expired. Please conclude.
As I conclude, Speaker, I want to really ask as a fundamental question to this government as to when will they stand and pride themselves for changing the lives of the poor in this province?
Thank you very much.
meaningfully,
Thank you very
especially
much,
those who
Honorable
are young.
Kama.
Thank you
Please
very
take your
much.
seat. Order, members. Order. Order, members. Honorable Minister, please take your seat. There's clearly a dialogue happening in this chamber. Honorable Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you for all the participants. The specific strategies and actions taken by the department may vary depending on the government's priorities, available resources, and the nature of the challenges faced by the municipality. I want to mention that we do have extensive footprint in Gugulethu, Khayelitsha, Nyanga, NY, but community must take ownership to prevent vandalism in these areas. It's also very important. We have club development programs, the NGOs operating and having soccer teams, netball teams,
Order.
as well as boxing.
Order, members.
The mod centers and our Year Beyond programs is just a few that I can mention. Then to provide a just, open and encouraging environment for our sports persons of athletes to excel, the government, the sport organizations, federations and the community as well as the stakeholders must collaborate more now than ever because of the devastating budget cuts. And I must mention, politics and corruption and mismanagement have no place in sport. Sports and politics have to exist as distinct industries. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, that concludes interpellation 1. And just for the record, please note that interpellation 2 as printed on the question paper has been withdrawn. So we'll move on to interpellation 3 as printed on the question paper. I recognize the Honorable Minister, Minister Mackenzie.
Thank you, Last Speaker. The question from Honorable Kasim, thank you very much for the question. The answer is we introduced a two-way application lodging process, namely the online and the walk-in system. The legislative time frame for permanent application is 60 days. However, in the Western Cape, we strive to finalize all applications in 45 days. Over-the-counter applications take 72 hours, and we receive an applications an average of 1,500 a month. The quarterly performance of 2023, the first quarter of the PRE hearings, are conducted for the public transport for operating license process in terms of the National Land Transport Act of 2009. The 39 hearings were concluded against the target of a 30, Honorable Maran, to allow for the increase of the application due to new developments and rules. Number 2, there is no backlog for any application services at the Western Cape PRE, Honorable Maran. The PRE awaits the recommendations by municipalities to process applications in terms of Section 36 of the NLTA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I recognize the Honorable Kasim.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question stems from a conundrum which spans more than 14 years ago, which involved Mr. Kaniso Rassi, his father, Golden Rassi, together with other taxi permit applicants from George against the department and its provincial regularity entity. The maladministration of this department and its entity in handling issues connected to taxi permits came to light when the applicants in question were denied taxi permits under questionable circumstances in 2009, despite receiving the backing of the George municipality and the local taxi association. When members of the EFF and the taxi permit applicants approached officials from the provincial entity during 2021, it became clear that there was no synergy between the office in Cape Town and the rest of the satellite offices in the Western Cape. The first thing that was clear was that there was no proper record keeping from the entity and its satellite offices, because it took more than 11 years for the entity to first make its communication with Mr. Kaniso. And by then, it was informing him and other applicants that the permits will be cancelled due to inactivity and non-upliftment of those permits. Later, Mr. Rassi and his father were informed that the application and permit respectively had been cancelled as a result of the former's failure to provide the correct route and the latter's failure to uplift his granted permit. However, what is appalling and shocking is that the same entity has no record whatsoever showing that communication was sent to the applicants, informing them that there was an issue with the route description, and further that Mr. Rassi's senior application was granted. And to this day, the entity cannot prove or show that this information was sent in one form or another to the applicants until some 11 years later, when they were informed that the application fell through. The above paints a picture of the provincial government department and the entity, which are not only incapable but also responsible in creating the chaos we have witnessed in the past few weeks, resulting in the loss of innocent lives and livelihoods for the majority of poor people from townships. In conclusion, if this department was capable of executing its mandate, then the application and the renewal of taxi permits would be efficient, resulting in less taxes being impounded. With this being said, Speaker, what is the department doing to make sure that deserving applicants for taxi permits receive their permits on time with less administrative hardship? Because it also does not make sense that applicants would lose their permits due to minor issues such as route descriptions and lack of permit upliftment, especially under circumstances where the department cannot show that such were brought to the attention of the applicants through some sort of correspondence.
Thank you, Honorable Kasim. Order members. I now recognize the Honorable America.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker. Lost in translation. Thank you for your response, Minister. In terms of the National Land Transportation Act, the provincial regulatory entity is mandated to conduct public hearings when issuing operating licenses. So at the standing committee meeting yesterday, Minister, it was stated that against the target, and you repeated it in your response, of 30 for this first quarter, 39 hearings were conducted, and there are no outstanding operating licenses. And these increased hearings, as the Minister has stated, came about as a result of increased applications as well as new routes that's being formulated and being approved. So it is misleading, Minister, to hear that there are any operating licenses that are outstanding. So, Minister, I think I speak for all the members in this House when I say to your department and to the City of Cape Town have done a tremendous job in getting Santaco back to the taxi. I agree. Sorry.
Order, members.
Yeah. To bring Santaco back to the taxi task team. I also understand that negotiations are positive and that progress is being made. It gives me hope, and I look forward to what the future holds for the engagement. Minister, it is important to provide assistance to our taxi operators and to help them apply for operating licenses. And I have no doubt that your department is doing everything in your powers to assist taxi operators.
Honorable America, please note the time has expired. Please conclude.
So I want to ask, what support does the provincial entity provide to applicants to assist them in their application?
Thank you very much,
process?
Honorable America. Please take your seat. I now recognize the Honorable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I don't know whether it looked like we've got two ministers here. I thought that Honorable America will assist us in actually holding the minister accountable, but it looked like he's more siding with the minister instead of actually assisting us to hold the minister to account.
Order.
Honorable Speaker, I am concerned about the delays in issuing operating licenses to minibus taxi operators in the Western Cape. According to the information at our disposal, the provincial regulatory entity has failed to issue operating licenses within the legislated 60-day period. This sometimes takes up to 90 days. So I'm surprised when the minister says that they actually take up to 45 days. If he can give us one practical example, it will be very good. This is unacceptable and it is causing a great deal of inconvenience and uncertainty for taxi operators. There are 13,446 valid operating licenses conferred to minibus taxis to provide services and 1,700 applications that are still pending, adding to the backlog. I'm surprised when the minister said there's no backlog. What about those that are pending, Honorable Minister? This backlog is also unacceptable and it is preventing new taxi operators from entering the market. In addition to the above, I would like to stress the importance of the PRE and ensuring that all municipalities have up-to-date integrated transport plan, which has ITPs. There is a duty on pre and local authorities to ascertain the demand on the routes and to decide on how many operating licenses to issue out based on material conditions. This is to avoid oversaturating the routes. They last updated this in the year 2016 with the increase in population in our province and the debacle of the railway system. It resulted in more commuters commuting with.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mvimbi. Your time has expired. Please conclude.
Is not always making decisions. I urge the minister to work with municipalities to ensure that all ITPs are up to date. In
Thank
the
you very
absence of
much,
these
Honorable.
municipalities like the city
Thank
of
you very
Cape
much,
Town will
Honorable
continue.
Mvimbi. Please take your seat, and I recognize the Honorable Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, if I heard the minister correctly, it's 45 days about for your application to succeed. The question that I have is, though, when somebody goes to apply for a license, how long do they wait in the queue? That is a contentious question. You go and you wait the whole day. Maybe that, if the minister can answer that. The second one is, how friendly is your online applications? Because I believe people want to rather do it online than to go stand in a queue. But Minister, the last question I want to know from you is, is there limits per route? Because we know that the taxi industry is a cutthroat business industry. And that's why you have them, racing from one end to the other. So is there a limit to routes? And I think that will maybe address, the taxis racing from one point to the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christians. I now recognize the Honorable Kasim for your second opportunity as per the rules.
The issue of taxi permits and impoundment of minibus taxis, I would like the minister to clarify the event which transpired a few days ago when the department took a sudden decision to target and impound scholar transport in Pelican Park. The result of such a hasty decision left several learners stranded without any form of transportation, forcing parents to make last-minute desperate attempts to secure alternative transportation for their children. Moreover, it would appear that the motive behind the impounding of these taxis used as scholar transport has to do with the issue of operators using taxi modules that are declared older if found to be falling under the year of 2007. However, the same taxis have been transporting learners all along without any issues being raised with operators by the department. Furthermore, it should also be borne in mind that the same drivers operating these scholar transport taxis are members of the public who engage in this type of business to feed their families and to make ends meet. If they're taken out of business, that would mean that they will now fall under the category of those who are unemployed. A sensible department under the correct proper leadership would have acted in a more humane and professional manner, taking into account the interests of the learners and those operating those scholar transport in the process. The majority of these vehicles impounded have been operating for some time now and have been certified roadworthy with proper carriage license and the relevant documentation to transport those learners. So it would appear that the department was just retaliating in the process, following the taxi stay-away decision, which took place a few days ago, resulting in chaotic events. Having said that, Speaker, can the minister state why did not engage owners of these scholar transport earlier to communicate with them the department's policy regarding old vehicles transporting learners and then allowing them a reasonable time to comply with such a policy. An example of that can be given the timeframes in which they should upgrade their taxis and get newer models in line with the policy under consideration.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kassim. I now recognize the Honourable Minister, Minister Mackenzie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Perhaps can I start with the last point? Honourable Kassim, I'm not sure if you are aware. 6 children died in Mitchell's Plain on the back of a bakkie. Before that, we've lost, I think it was in February this year, another 2 children. And if you tell those parents of those children that you, because that is what you say, you want to allow children to drive in vehicles that are unroadworthy, vehicles that do not have permits, vehicles that are no.
Order, members.
Can you listen
Order.
to me?
Honourable
What you
Minister,
are
please.
You're asking us to.
Honourable
ignore
Minister, please take your
the
seat.
laws of the
Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition, is that a point of order?
It's a point of order.
What's
Can
your point
the-
of order?
Can the Honourable Minister please speak through you and not directly to the member? And he's also saying wrong things, by the way, at the same time. She did not say that, but that's just a by the way. He must speak through you.
Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, that is not a point of order. Honourable Minister, I am going to remind you and
thank you,
all
sir.
members of the House that please address the chair and not directly address one another.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'll speak via you. 6 children died in Mitchell's Plain, Honourable Speaker. 6 children
Honourable-
died in Mitchell's Plain.
Honourable Minister, please
In a-
take your seat. Honourable Kama, is that a point of order?
No, thank you very much.
The members, there's a member on the floor.
I want to check with you, Speaker, because the minister first starts about the tragedy that happened where children died.
What's your point of order?
I'm raising the point of order.
Order, members.
I'm raising.
There's a member, the Honourable Kama, Honourable Kama,
Here and there.
Honourable Kama, please raise your point of order, and
now.
honourable members. Order, members. Honourable Kama, can you please raise your point of
Yes,
order?
the point of order, Speaker, is that as I'm listening to the minister, he's imputing improper motives to the member. Because he's saying the member is saying while there are 6 children who would have died in a bakkie, the member is saying those children must use transport that is not suitable in terms of the law.
Honourable,
And therefore,
Honourable Kama, what is your point
Speaker,
of
when
order?
are you going to-
Order, members.
Well, I can't even hear myself now.
Can you, Honourable Kama, can you please raise your point of order?
I've
You don't need to justify it. I need to apply the rules. So can you just raise your point of order as per the standing rules?
The point that I'm raising is that the MEC is imputing improper motives on the member.
All right, that's your point of order?
Yes, and I've explained.
Okay, you don't
why
need
am I saying that? Because
Thank
of
you.
what he is saying.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. Honourable members, when you raise a point of order, you do not need to justify your point of order. It's for me to apply my mind based on the rules. So, Honourable Kama, I did not hear that. And if there is a need, I will revert to Hansard and come back to the House with the ruling. Honourable Minister, please continue.
Honourable Speaker, the member asked me a specific question. Why did we impound scholar transport vehicles? And I'm going to explain it again. 6 children died. It is a serious matter. 6 children died in one crash in improper scholar transport. That is a matter of fact. It is not impugning on anyone's character. It's a matter of fact. And before that, another 2 children died. And the same day, another child was run over in Heidelberg. These are
Order.
matters of fact.
Order, members.
So when our traffic officers goes out and impound vehicles that are illegally on the road, they're not doing it for fun. They're not doing it because they're bored with their lives. They're doing it because they're trying to prevent the loss of life. And the members of this House who are holders of the law should cheer them and applaud them for upholding the laws of this country.
Order.
The second question the members asked if I can respond to her. And she talked about the George permit in Mr. Rassi. And I've actually found the letter very quickly because I remember that case specifically. And I'll read the last letter that we sent to Mr. Rassi. Because he came to meet me in my office, by the way. Something you apparently do it with every new MEC over the last 5 years. So I'm going to read the last letter we sent, and I'm going to try and shoot because it's a long letter. They said both decisions that were addressed to Mr. Rassi in George, it's our view that the prescribed legal process was followed to process and dispose of the operating license condition. We consider these matters to be final. That was over 10 years ago. Every MEC come and see. But he gets the same answer because not that they didn't keep documents. He did receive his response, but he didn't like the response. Sometimes no is an answer. And that is the fact. Honorable Vimbi, thank you for the question. 1,700 are pending. It's not a backlog. When you submit a document to somebody and they acknowledge of receipt, it is an acknowledgement that they have received it and they are busy with it. It is not a backlog. There is no backlog. And
Order.
when the municipalities.
Order, members.
So when it's like submitting your CV. Somebody say they acknowledge your CV, but the interview is only next week. It doesn't mean there's a backlog on your application. So the 45 days, it is a win because the law says 60 to 90 days. The 45 days, it's a shorter period. That's why we're trying. It's a success story. And when the municipalities has not responded on a matter, the Honorable Mvimbi's got members of ANC councillors. He should not be doing their job. They should go to the municipality and ask them, have you informed the PRE what you're doing or not? So that is a very important part. Honorable Christians, thank you very much. Our services are very friendly.
Honorable Minister, your time has expired. Please
I
conclude.
was stopped 3 times, Honorable Speaker.
The clock was stopped in that process.
Thank you,
Order,
Honorable
members.
America. Honorable Christians, yes, that there are route limits to avoid taxi horse, to avoid overtrading.
Thank you
because
very much,
overtrading
Honorable Minister.
leads to taxi horse.
Thank you. Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable members, that concludes interpellations as per Rule 197. We will now move over to questions for oral reply as per Rule 202. But before I recognize the first Minister, I wish to remind the honorable members that once the honorable Minister has started the reply to the oral question as printed on the question paper, honorable members must use the chat facility for the sitting of the House to indicate that they want to use to ask a follow-up question for those honorable members online, and for those members in the chamber to give an indication to the table staff. There are 4 opportunities for follow-up questions, but the honorable member who has posed the initial oral question will be provided the first opportunity for the follow-up question, and therefore thereafter, honorable members may then use the remaining opportunities. I recognize the honorable Minister, Minister Simmers.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to Member Maseko for the question. Member, I can confirm that my department has requested the National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, or NDPWI, to release several parcels of land across our province for human settlements development mainly. And to date, none of the requested land parcels has been made available to the Department of Human Settlement for its purposes. In fact, it's now become clear and it's fully understood by all provinces, not just for the Western Cape, that the National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has taken a firm stance that any land they do make available to provinces would be to the Housing Development Agency when it comes to settlement development. So therefore, my member, there's no funding, no budget, because there is no land that has been transferred to this province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Minister. I just want to find out, Minister, in the spirit of intergovernmental relations between the 3 spheres of government, has the provincial government ever transferred land parcels to any municipality? If that is the case, which are those municipalities, if you can name the few? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Maseko. Just so that for the record, I recognized Honourable Christians, Maran and Kasim, and that's the 4 opportunities. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Through you, indeed, member, the provincial government or the old Transport and Public Works has transferred various pockets of provincially owned land to various municipalities across the province for settlement development and other portions to expand on existing infrastructure which is needed by municipalities. Where we have transferred those provincial owned parcels of land to local municipalities, it forms within the development corridor and hence it's part of our human settlements business plan and its budget as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize Honourable Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the biggest concern I have, is the 160 million being paid to keep the construction mafia and illegal occupation of the current land that you have and houses that's still under construction. So I just want to ask you, is this going to be an extra burden if you should get land, because you're already spending 160 million rand just to keep people from occupying the land and houses? Now, it's a big budget, so it means that budget must expand if you get more land. Just explanation, because this is a significant amount that more houses could be built, but now you must utilize it for something else. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Christians. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and through you to the Honourable Christians. No, indeed, Honourable Christians, we've spent 161.7 million rand just for the 22-23 financial year. We've lost 125 housing opportunities. If I take the full 3-year cycle, we've actually lost 500 million rand and close to 1,000 housing opportunities. Indeed, should we get additional land, which is meant for human settlements development, we do, as part of our processes moving forward, we wanted to ensure that there is security for such land, given the vast tracts of land that we have lost already that was earmarked for human settlement development. And the bulk of the money which you refer to, Honourable Member, has been spent in the city of Cape Town because of land being invaded, amongst others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Speaker, and good afternoon to everyone present. Chairperson, as we know that, Speaker, as we know that the ANC have governed until 2009. And before that, the ANC have released land parcels to the HDA. We also know in 2010 that Helen Zeller, when she was the Premier, withdrew the release of these land parcels. And the signed agreement was declared non-scripto. Non-proscripto. And there's Staffelberg also, MEC is saying that there is no land parcels. I therefore,
Order, members.
I therefore, Speaker, wants to ask the MEC, when will this government consider going back the ANC plan of 2009 to use its existing pockets of land and properties under the ownership of human settlements for the purpose of building houses for the poor and middle class closer to the city centre?
Thank you, Honourable Maran. Honourable Minister.
Speaker, thank you. Through to the member. And just to quote him, he said it was an ANC plan, and we all know everything the ANC touches remains a plan. As the DA-led provincial government, we have our own plans, our own strategies, focusing on affordable housing, and land earmarked for inner city development has been identified and as an appropriate time will be made public. Thank you.
Order. Honourable members, you had an opportunity if you would like to pose a question. You didn't indicate that. Honourable Dugmore and Said, I'm on the floor. If you had an opportunity to raise your hand if you wanted to pose a question to the Minister. I've recognized 4 members to do so. Please allow those members to pose their questions without interjections and underlining conversations. I now recognize the Honourable Kasim.
Thank you, Speaker. My question, are there any parcels of land that the department identified before they can even go and ask assistance from the national government? And what is the department doing to acquire more land from the provincial government and city of Cape Town, which is closer to areas of business for purposes of social housing and to achieve the goal of spatial planning? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Kasim. Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, I tried to keep track what the member was asking me, so please do apologize if I do miss something. Honourable Member, firstly, when we have our own provincial owned land, of which the former Transport and Public Works is the custodian. Once again, all the land which is owned by the provincial government, not every piece of land is usable for human settlement development. It has various other uses. Among others, where we do have such land, within the city jurisdiction. They are either earmarked for human settlement development already. Part of this provincial government strategy moving forward is to use such parcels of land that's developable for human settlement development to ensure that it speaks to affordable housing and mixed housing development, which is, I think, answers the A part of your question. The B part, the B part of your question relates to the city of Cape Town. Once again, we do focus on available land that we can utilize, and when we have proven that where we in the city can work together, where they have available land, we do expand our project size and our project's impact in terms of affordable housing, mixed use development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, that concludes question 1 on the question paper for. And that concludes the question 1 on the question paper. Honourable members, just for the record, question 2 and 3 was withdrawn. So we move to question 4 as printed on the question paper. I recognize the Honourable Minister, Minister Simmers.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and through you to the member. Once again, thank you for the questions. Honourable Class, in responding to this pertinent question, I believe context is key for you to fully understand my response. Human settlements or housing, as it is colloquially referred to, is both complex and very emotive. It is emotive and complex due to a number of reasons and therefore should not be politicized to gain cheap political scores. The complexity in human settlements development is further exacerbated by the scourge of land grabs, which you've just heard I alluded to in a previous question, political interference at community level, community dynamics, construction mafia, and the increased inward migration to our province. The department currently has over 89 hectares of land in its asset register that is deemed suitable for human settlement development across our province, with most of the land located within the metro jurisdiction. Even though these parcels of land are deemed suitable for human settlement purposes, a number of processes still need to be carried out. These processes include, but are not limited to, pre-feasibility studies to determine the suitability of land and other land assessment processes. These parcels of land are currently both vacant or have been illegally occupied. One such example of illegally occupied land is the Penhill and Ditemba land that was earmarked to yield more than 10,000 housing opportunities, and as a result, deserving beneficiaries are currently deprived of the dignity of adequate housing. There's currently a legal process underway to ensure that the true potential of the sites can be achieved once we can remove the current illegal occupiers. Honourable Speaker, the member will be sorely devastated as I am unfortunately not going to share the list nor the locations of our parcels of land, as this information will be seen as an open invitation to encourage more illegal invitations or invasions.
Order.
As I stated in my
order,
opening remarks,
members.
Housing is an emotive topic that should not be politicized, as our deserving beneficiaries become collateral damage, and this is grossly unfair. But here is the list, which I will
Order,
not provide today.
members.
Thank you.
Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable members on my left and right-hand side, the Minister is responding to a question by a member. Please do not infringe on the right of the member to hear the answer as provided by the Minister. Honourable Minister, you may continue.
Honourable Speaker, through you, I have responded to the question. And I just wish to repeat, this is the list of all the land parcels. But unfortunately, out of fear of invasion, I will not be sharing it with the member.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Class.
I want the question to be a record. How many hectares of land are count of this unused parcel of land, and how many housing units can be built in total, since the housing backlog amounted close to nearly 600,000 in the beginning of 2023 and 2024 final year?
Thank you very much, Honourable Class. Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, through you, I think the number of hectares I did indicate in my response, it's 89 hectares. Honourable Member, if you live in the metro area, the yield is supposed to be 80 housing opportunities per hectare. So you take the 89 hectares times the number of units per hectare. If you live in the non-metro area, it's 100 units per hectare. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I recognize the Honourable Maran.
Thanks very much, Speaker. The Western Cape and the city of Cape Town in particular remain one of the most spatially segregated settlements in the world, not only in South Africa, in the world, based on race. And we have heard now the MEC saying that he got a list of all those parcels and they will not release it because, and I've heard at some states, and I think it was in Saldanha Bay, where the
Honorable Maran, can I
chairperson
just
was saying
remind you
that,
that's a follow-up question?
yes, it is a follow-up question. We're getting there, just the build-up.
Order,
That,
members. Order.
Where she basically told Saldanha Bay municipality not to make the land parcels in that particular municipality available because it will be. Can the MEC
Order, members.
Can the MEC tell us how is his department and government intervening to remedy spatial segregation in the province?
Honorable Maran, my apologies. There's I assume that is a point of order, but let me first ask, Honorable Maseko, is that a point of order? Honorable Maran, please take your seat.
That's a point of order, Speaker, because Member Maran is misleading the House.
Honorable Maseko, I'm not going to adjudicate on the facts of the submission. If there is other parliamentary processes that should apply to get that to the attention of the House.
That definitely is in order and it will be.
Bring a substantive motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maseko. Honorable Maran, Honorable
is...
Maran, please take your seat. Honorable Bakabaka Force, is that a point of order?
Yes, Speaker.
What's your point of order?
It seems that we have many speakers here. They are trying to undermine you, Speaker.
That is not a point of order. Thank you very much, Honorable Bakabaka Force. Honorable Maran, please, can I just caution you, you need to get to the question now?
I'm there.
Thank you.
I'm finished with the build-up.
Order.
Speaker, can the MEC tell us how his department and government are intervening to remedy spatial segregation in the province by releasing these pockets of land that he said that he got a list of pockets of land it owns for the development of affordable housing near places of opportunities?
Thank you, Honorable Maran. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, through you, the bulk of our developments and even the land lists, some of which are already at advanced stages of planning and ready for implementation, focuses on mixed-use development. By definition, because you very seldomly attend and ask the questions in the Standing Committee, a mixed-use development project, Honorable Speaker, is where we cater for the BNG, which is fully subsidized. We cater for the affordable housing market, and we focus on social housing. Such projects, and the Honorable Member, through his Speaker, has visited some of these projects, which is a tangible example of the DA policy in this province. I believe the Honorable Member has been to Mossel Bay, the Mountain View project. One thing, it integrates various human settlement products. If he has not, he must go to Conradi Park. Another key example where we integrate the various forms of policies to ensure that we integrate people from different backgrounds. The Honourable Member can also go to Botatsig Phase 1 and 2. Once again, it focuses on social housing, which is a rental option, Honourable Member. And Phase 2 also focuses on affordable housing. I can go on and on and on, Honourable Speaker. The problem is, Honourable Speaker, it's that as much as we respond in this House, it is the members' duty to actually go through our blue book. We list our projects, we list our successes, we also list what we are going to do. As die antwoord is in die boek. Lees net die blauw boek. Dankie, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Kama. Order, members.
No, thank you.
Honourable Kama, please take your seat. Your order, members. There's a member on the floor that I've recognized. I mean, this entire sitting, I've been cautioning and asking that you please cooperate and adhere to the rules and allow the member on the floor to make his or her submission. Honourable members, I'm on the floor, Honourable Maran. Honourable Kama, my apologies, you may pose your question.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. I think through you, Speaker, also following from the question that Member Maran was asking, I now want to perhaps be specific and ask the Minister as to are there any pockets of land here in the CPD going to Sea Point, Camps Bay, which belongs to the provincial government, and the provincial government intends to build affordable houses for the people of the province, knowing that there is Tafelberg that this government keeps on spending millions when the court would have pronounced that it has failed to constitutionally deliver its duty of building affordable houses for the people of this country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kama. Honorable Minister. Order, members. Order. Honorable Minister.
Speaker, I would love to refer the honourable member just back to my answer again. I'm going to read. The department currently has over 89 hectares of land, which is what you asked, in its asset register that is deemed suitable for human settlement development across the province, with the most of the land located in the metro. Of that 89 hectares, there's a fair portion within the inner city, which is earmarked for development. 2 of those parcels are earmarked in advanced stages for mixed-use development in terms of affordable housing and in terms of social housing as well. And at the appropriate time, we will be making that announcement. Outside of the city centre, there are also parcels of land also earmarked for development at various stages of implementation. So I've thoroughly answered your question. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Honourable members, are there any further? My apologies. I recognize Honourable Murray on the online, on the hybrid system. Honourable Murray.
I thank you, Speaker. I want to ask the Minister, in terms of orderly urbanization, you should have a plan to prepare for urbanization, because something we can't stop. But at the same time, it would only be fair to let those people who has applied for housing and have been patiently waiting for up to 20 years to be given a house, to be given preference. Do you stick to that policy, or would you allow a person who's here 10 or more years after the person is on a waiting list to get precedence, and why, if so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Murray. Honourable Minister, that is a new question, but I'm not going to dictate to you how you should or should not answer. So over to you, Minister.
Honourable Speaker, no, thank you to the member for the question, but I think so the member can fully understand the housing allocation policy and the housing waiting list process through you, Honourable Speaker. I will actually provide the member a written response outlining the allocations policy, but also the way plan for human settlements development, which encapsulates the member's entire question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, and thank you very much for that commitment. Honourable members, we now move on to question 5 as printed on the question paper. I recognise the Minister of Agriculture, Minister Meyer.
Waar van landbou bestuur 2 plase in staatsbesit in die tuinroete, naamlik Amalienstein in Zwaar en Bykraal in Oudtshoorn. Die hoeveelheid hektaar vir elke plaas is, soos u vraag, Amalienstein 7,626,47 hektaar. Bykraal, soos per u vraag, is 772,37 hektaar. Agbare Kasim, daarbenewens beskik die Wes-Kaapse Departement van Landbou ook 7 proefplase: Elsenburg, Stellenbosch, Langgewens in Mamasbury, Nortier in Lambertsbaai, Tygerhoek by Rivier Sonder End, die Volstruisplaas in Oudtshoorn, die Woester veldnavorsing in Woester, die Outeniqua proefplaas in George. Agbare Kasim sal weet dat ons doen dierennavorsing, plantnavorsing, veldnavorsing, navorsing oor volstruise, by die vleis, bees, skaap, melk, ook ander suiwelprodukte. Agbare Kasim, U vraag is baie relevant. U vraag handel oor grondhervorming en grondallokasie. Soos ek voorheen aan hierdie huis verduidelik het, is dit 'n funksie van die nasionale regering. Dit is baie duidelik uit u voorgesette vraag wat u aan my stel, dat u wil hê dat grondhervorming wat in die nasionale grondwet aan die nasionale regering geallokeer is, dis baie duidelik uit u vraag dat u wil hê dat daardie funksies moet verskuif word na die Wes-Kaap se regering. Agbare Kasim, daarom wil ek vir u vra om my te help. Ek wil graag vir u vra om my te help om daardie funksie waarmee u nie tevrede is van nasionaal nie, om daardie funksie aan my oor te dra in die Wes-Kaap. Agbare Kasim, my party het daarom die Western Cape Powers Bill. We put it before the committee, and if you want me to take the powers away from land reform in the national government, I'm happy and I would be very thankful if you support our bill, because when you support the bill, that function
Order,
can
members.
come to me.
Order.
And if that function is allocated to me, the Premier will give me certain targets and I will exceed the targets in terms of the delivery. So I am excited about the members' support for the function to be allocated to this province. Currently, it is not possible, but there is a provision in the Constitution, Honourable Member Kasim and Member Klaas, that can make this possible. And I would like you to refer you to the clause where this is possible. En as u saamstem, stem dan ten gunste van die wetsontwerp, dan kan ons grondhervorming u vraag, dan kry by die Wes-Kaapse departement. And I want to read to you that this function that is not managed well by the national government can be allocated to me, and there's a constitutional provision. And I would like to refer you to Section 99 of the Constitution, which is the source of your question. It says, and I quote, Section 99 of the Constitution, Speaker, speaks to the assignment of functions. Honourable Member Kasim clearly wants the function to be assigned to me. That's why she asked me the questions, because she wants the function to be assigned to me. She won't ask the question in the National Assembly to Minister Tokudu Disa. She
Order,
won't ask.
members. Order.
No, I'm not confused. No,
Order,
I've
member.
studied this stuff.
Order,
Cannot be
members.
confused. No.
Order, members. Minister,
I've studied
please.
it.
Order, members.
I've
Order,
studied it.
members.
I've studied it. Cannot be
Order,
confused.
members.
I've studied it.
Honourable
I cannot be
Minister,
confused.
Honourable Minister, can I please remind you to speak to me?
Honourable Member Kama, through you, Speaker, and Honourable Member Klaas, through the Speaker, Honourable Member Kasim, through the Speaker. Section 99 of the Constitution is quite clear. And I quote, a cabinet member, national, may assign any power or function that is to be exercised or performed in terms of an act of parliament to a member of a provincial executive, that's me, or to a municipal council, not me. An assignment must be, so Honourable Member Kasim,
Order.
if the national government assign the function to me, it must be, according to the Constitution, it must be in terms of an agreement between the relevant cabinet minister, Tokudu Disa, and me. She must sign it, and Tokudu Disa and I must agree, and I'm happy to agree. Honourable Member, Honourable Speaker, through you, if Honourable Member Kasim want to put a proposal before this House, I'll ask my members to support it, and then there's the support.
Order.
Honourable member,
Order.
this agreement, now that I have the support of my caucus, this agreement can now be signed. And it also says it must be consistent with an act of parliament in terms of which the relevant power or function is exercised.
Order, members.
And performed. And Honourable Member Kasim, the Constitution says that if that power that you want me to get, first an agreement, and then the President must sign a proclamation to make it legal. Once that happens, Honourable Member Kasim, then the second proclamation will come out to declare the date when this agreement becomes operative. So I am looking forward for that proclamation, because then the Premier will assign additional responsibilities to me. And as I told you, I will exceed in my targets, because currently the targets, and I understand your unhappiness, because here's your unhappiness. Land reform, currently in South Africa, according to the ANC own records, they are saying land reform, they fail by 90%. Yep. So Honourable Member Kasim, I understand your frustrations. I share your frustrations.
Order.
I know you are upset, but you're upset in the wrong house. It's over there where you are in cooperation or partnership with the ANC. So I share your concerns. I think I will invite you for a cup of tea. We have to sit, jointly develop this partnership agreement, even write the proclamation for the President. When that happens, I think, Honourable Member Kasim, your fears, your anger, your desires are all legitimate, because we sit with a failed government that doesn't know what it's doing. But here, Honourable Member Kasim, is the real joy, because 90% is the failure of the national government. And as I've explained in this House, 72% success rate in this province. And guess who did the evaluation? The President's office says where we are in charge in the Western Cape, 72% success. ANC, 90% failure. So, Honourable Chairperson, the EFF asked me to take over the function of land reform. They actually asked me that we must invoke Section 99 of the Constitution, the assignment of function. I declare in this House that I'm ready to invoke Section 99 of the Constitution. I invoke it now, and then I will formally request the Premier to write to the President. President will write to Toko Disa, and the rest is history. And Honourable Member Kasim will be extremely happy, and I will take her for a cup of tea.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, Honourable Dagmo, Honourable members, I just want to remind Honourable members that the four follow-up questions is Honourable Kasim, Honourable van der Westhuizen, Honourable Maran, and Honourable Maree. So, Honourable Kasim.
Just on the side that there's lots of land available, we have also heard from that minister that there's land available. Having said that, Speaker, with that land that is currently available, how many of that land is available or leased to emerging black and colored farmers in order to give them opportunities, and thereby bridge the inequality gap in the sector? If not, why not?
Thank you very much, Honourable Kasim. Honourable Minister.
Member Kasim, I will go back to my answer because I do not want to mislead the House. To mislead the House is a serious offence. As my friend, Honourable Member Christians will know, he's been here for a long time. He knows that in this House, you shall speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Honourable Member de Villiers, if you do not speak the truth, you have the full right and the power to call us to order. So I would like to go back. There are 2 farms, and Honourable Member, through you, Speaker, my good friend, Pat Maran, and I'm also equally like him, and members of this side of the House, unhappy that we have 2 farms, Honourable Member Kasim, that is not well managed, that is not for me a role model of what it should be. And this is both Amalienstein, you have seen the reports, the Standing Committee had an oversight, and Vaikra. There are a number of issues relating to those 2. And the question is, when do I hand it over to the community? But I can tell you this House, I have no intentions to set people up for failure. The project must be a success, and then I hand over the project. These 2 projects is not a success. That's, by the way the ANC works. They take a disaster, dump it on a community and say, carry on. I'm refusing to do that. I'm not going to give a place that doesn't have proper water, proper management, and hand this over to the community, because that is the ANC's model. Fatsua, we don't operate like that. And so I am not happy in terms of the spirit of accountability. We will accept the responsibility that both Amalienstein and Vaikra, 7,600 and 772, I'm not going to dump a failed project. It's like giving your child a stick in a car, sonder 'n engine, and jy sê vir die kind, ry lekker. I am not going to do that, and I take personal responsibility for that failure.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Van der Westhuizen, order members.
Agbare Speaker, deur u aan Minister Meyer.
Order members. Honourable Van der Westhuizen, please take your seat. Honourable members, you had an opportunity to raise your hand if you want to ask the Minister a follow-up question. You cannot now have a dialogue with the Minister. Both sides of the House, you are preventing the member that posed the question their rights as per the standing rules to get a response. Honourable Dagmo, is that a point of order? What's your point of order?
Speaker, I'd just like to address you on that statement. There is nothing in this House which prevents members from interjecting. And there's a big difference between an interjection and rising to ask a member a question. And from my side, I haven't noticed any particularly bad. I'm not saying it's been good behavior from the other side, but not particularly bad. And also from our side, it hasn't been particularly bad. It's simply interjections. And I'd like to ask you to uphold our right to interject in the House.
Your interjections are allowed and your right to interjections are allowed, but your right cannot trump the right of another member that's on the floor in this House. And that I have a duty to protect that member on that floor, on this floor. Honourable Van der Westhuizen, you may continue.
Baie dankie, agbare Speaker. Speaker, deur u aan die agbare Minister Meyer. En ek dink die vraagsteller besef ook dat die kanse vir grondhervorming in die Wes-Kaap is so wat 6 keer beter as in die res van ons land. Minister, u is waarskynlik bewus van die voormalig goed ontwikkelde sitrus navorsingsplaas weerskante van die N7 buitekant Citrusdal en wat aan die nasionale ANC regering se landbounavorsingsraad behoort en waarvan die waterpompe en infrastruktuur gevandaliseer is toe navorsing gestaak is. En wat myns insiens 'n ideale stuk grond sou uitmaak om in 'n bemagtigingstransaksie aan opkomende boere oor te dra, eerder as wat daarvan opkomende boere verwag word, soos die agbare Kasim, om hulle te vestig en 'n bestaan te maak uit onontwikkelde grond wat braak lê. Minister, wat is u kommentaar hierop?
Thank you, Honourable Van der Westhuizen. Honourable Minister.
Speaker, dankie vir agbare Van der Westhuizen. Ek is van die Weskus. En elke keer as ek daar in die Weskus ry, is dit 'n tragiese verhaal om hierdie projek van die Landelike Navorsingsraad te aanskou, wat eers 'n suksesvolle sitrusplaas was, maar tans gruwelik daar staan en die vraag is en agbare Kasim, you have been to that area, to the citrus dal through to you speaker. I think with little effort, little bit of mentoring, coaching, it will be possible. Honorable Member Maran will agree. In fact, he has agreed already that this is an ideal situation. And if there's a request in this House that we engage further with the National Department and rather transfer this land, make it a successful citrus farm, get the national technical assistance, because this is a project that has all the ingredients to make it successful, unlike Wijkrau. And so I appreciate, and Amalienstein, absolutely, you are right, and I have already accepted accountability, and I think this House must know that one of the values of this government is accountability, and I accept full accountability. Honorable Member, you know what I'm talking about. And so, Honorable Member Andrikas, I would love that farm to become successful, citrus, and I have met with the Citrus Growers Association. I've met with the mayor of Citrus Dal. He is willing to assist. I've met with the regional chair, van der Merwe. I've met with the Citrus Growers Association. Those people are ready to support and assist and turn that into a flourishing economic growth hub for black farmers. In fact, I am ready to even support them to have that growth in exports, because as Honorable Member van der Westhuizen will know, South Africa, Honorable Member Kama, through you, Mr. Kama loves oranges. That's why he's always healthy, the citrus vitamin C, and he will know that South Africa.
Order, members.
Honorable Member Kama is never sick. In this 5 years, I've never seen him taking any day sick leave, and he told me it has to do with the citrus industry. And so, Honorable Member Kama will know that South Africa is the second biggest exporter of citrus fruit in the world, Mr. de Villiers, after Spain. And so, I think this is a great opportunity to work with the partners in the industry, even with the national department, with my department, with the local municipalities, my colleague Minister Bradell, in terms of the water rights issues like that. This is something, Honorable Member Kasim, me and you, and Honorable Member Maran, and Honorable Member van der Westhuizen, let's sit, devise something, and make it happen, and don't shout across this floor. I think I want to invite you for a cup of tea. I want to invite Honorable Member van der Westhuizen for a cup of tea. And we solve this problem over a cup of tea, and there's no political shouting taking place. Thank you. Rooibos.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Chairperson. The Honourable van der Westhuizen never set foot on the farm that you have mentioned. He heard from me from that farm. And also, Chair, for the information is that that farm has been allocated to two gentlemen, Wayne and Damon, and they have started. So when the application for cash come in, approve it. Approve it. Wijkel and Malienstein.
Order,
No,
members.
there's no connections. Wijkel and Malienstein, and you have admitted MEC, it's a failure. When the premier was the MEC for agriculture, it starts there. He failed. Now you are also failing. And how is it that you can ask for more powers when you can't deal with two farms? Only two. You can't deal with that. Because over the last 10 years, it's a failure. There is. Because before that farm was handed over to the department, When it was privately farmed,
Honorable Maran,
successful.
please take your seat. There's a
Chair,
point of order.
Speaker, the
Honorable,
question.
Honorable Maran, please take your seat. There's a question. There's a point of order. Honorable Kama.
Speaker, clearly the interjections by the chair of the standing committee, the premier, are disrupting the member. Hence, he's now even trying to respond to them as they're speaking. Can you please protect him?
Honorable members, before you proceed, Honorable Maran, Honorable members, this is I've called you to order on this point. This is actually very serious. Interjections are allowed, but your interjections cannot drown out the speaker on the floor. I mean, if you're not going to use the opportunity as per the standing rules, then what is the point for it to be on the order paper? Honorable Maran.
Thanks, Speaker. The Honorable Van der Westhuizen said that the Western Cape's land reform projects is 6 times better than the rest of the country. But at the same time, the MEC is saying land reform is the responsibility of national. Don't be confused. The question, MEC, to you, and I think the question asked by the Honorable Kasim was to ask, besides the farms that you have mentioned, whether there's any other land, besides the farms that's currently operating, whether there's any other land that can be in the possession of.
Honorable Maran, can you please speak to me and not directly to the members across the floor?
I'm not speaking to the Premier, but the Premier is responding.
So can you please address me?
I'm
Look at me.
addressing you.
Then I can protect you.
Through you. I don't have to look at you, Speaker.
No, but you need
I'm
to speak to the chair. But you
Yes,
can't
through you,
engage the
Speaker,
members.
to the ABC.
You can't. Honorable Maran, I'm still addressing you. There is rules and order in this house. If you are not prepared to adhere to the rules and orders of this house, which we have as a collective adopted at the start of this term of office, we are nearing the end of this term of office and we are still addressing the rules. Can I please ask Honorable Maran, you are on the floor. As per the rules, please address the chair and pose your question.
Speaker, do you want me to look at you?
Yes.
I'm saying through you, Speaker. That's what I'm saying. I don't have to look at you. The question asked by the Honorable Kasim, Chair, my understanding is, besides the farms that's been mentioned by the MEC, the ostrich farm, Amalian Salins, whatever, is there any other land belonging to the province that can be used for agricultural purposes? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maran. Honorable Minister, you may now address Honorable Maran through me.
Achtbare Speaker, die vraag van achtbare Kasim is, hoeveel hectare landbougrond wat vir boerdery geskik is deur die provinsiale regering in besit? So die vraag, honorable member Kasim, is hectare landbougrond, nie enige grond nie, het gespesifiseer landbougrond wat vir boerdery geskik is. That's also another dimension of the question. Wat deur die provinsiale regering besit word, another thing, because all of these things must be products of evidence. Besit, deeds office. Geskik vir landbou, assessment, soil assessment, water quality assessment. So these are all things in the size of the ground. Obviously, provincial asset management, we can confirm that. I want to say to honorable member, there may be some land that he thinks is available. I would like him then therefore to come to me and say, these are the land, because if there are land that's available, we have a Cape Farm Mapper, and the Cape Farm Mapper is an instrument. As you, I think honorable member Mayne doesn't know this, so he needs to be also be informed. Every 3 years, honorable member Maran will know, honorable member Kama, every 3 years, we fly, honorable member Klaas, with a plane over all the farms, every 3 years. This way, and then the plane goes that way. horizontal, vertical. And the reason why we fly, and today is a bit more difficult, honorable member speaker, because you have netting. When you see class, as you know, right? Yeah, dan sien jy die nette. So when you fly over, you can't see under the net. Honorable member chief whip, that's why we are now driving. We fly and we drive. Because underneath, we want to see what is there. And the reason why we have Cape Farm Mapper is to give us an indication where the farmland is existing, who's the owner of the land, but more importantly, what's the soil quality and what's the type of commodity you can plant. So you can't come and plant potatoes there where you live in the Dorans because the ground or the soil analysis says this is grape. Mr. Plato, grape vineyards. So every 3 years, we fly and then we publish, we publish all this information on the Cape Farm Mapper. So honorable member class, if you want to buy a farm, because politics is a short career, maybe you don't come back. Or maybe I don't come back, that's also possible. So, Mr. Klaas, if we don't come back, me and you, and we are interested in farming, the first thing we do, we go to Cape Farm Mapper. You know why? The Cape Farm Mapper, we will then know where is the right, proper soil conditions, hydrological conditions, climatic conditions, the slope, everything, the wind, the rain, you get all that information on the Cape Farm Mapper. So Mr. Klaas, when you and I retire here and we want to become farmers, the first thing we're going to do is approach the
Honourable
Cape Farm
Minister,
Mapper.
please take your seat. Honourable Klaas, is there a point of order?
Of order. I didn't ask a question, so why the reply comes to me?
There is not a point of order. Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, can you please speak to me? Because Honourable Maran wants to raise a point of order. Okay, so Honourable Minister, please speak to me in order to get to speak to another member in the House, as per the rules, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. But if there's a certain member in this House that's not coming back next year on that side of the House, if that member wants to farm, I'm mentioning no names, but if that member is interested in farming, he can approach me and I can make available the Cape Farm Mapper. If he tells me he wants to be a citrus farmer, I'll use the Cape Farm Mapper and tell him you can't have that land. It's in private. This one is for sale. This is a government farm. Don't go there. The previous one tried farming with potatoes. That is a perfect place for citrus. And the turnover for citrus for export is better than potatoes. So that member of that House, no names, I will tell him, go for citrus. So the Cape Farm Mapper is something that doesn't exist anywhere. But if that member on that side of the House want to build a pack house, he must drop a building plan. So he don't have to do that. He can go to the Cape Farm Mapper, sorry, not you, that other member. He can go to Cape Farm Mapper and he can draw a plan for the extensions of the farm in citrus. And so I think the question of Honourable Member Maran, are there any other farms? That information, if the member is really truly interested to have a detailed analysis of the type of land, where the location of the land, is there water on the land, I am happy to sit down, this time with rooibos tea. That was with Earl Grey, the other one, but this time is with rooibos tea. And I'm happy to sit down to showcase him that we do not have agricultural land. The land that we have are located in these 7 research farms that I've mentioned. And I am so happy that we get excellent cooperation, because one of my strategic priorities, first priority is education, research, agriculture as a science, and we do excellent research. I think the honorable member will be happy to know, very important, that is, well, for example, honorable member, the nails of ostrich. I see the honorable member is also enjoying that side, but the nails of an ostrich. No, but it's research.
The members,
But
order members, Honourable Minister, you can continue.
I think it is important, honorable member, that the nails of the ostrich, that you do research, because there's implications for the eggs and the chicken and the babies, what they call. So that I can tell you, we have now done some significant research, and that has to do with laser technology that we have done through the research in-house in terms of the nails of it. Honorable member will also know Mr. Kama. He likes to go to Brazil, the carnivals, you know, where the people dance with the feathers. That feathers is also a product of research, and that research we do at Oudtshoorn. And that is a huge form of revenue for our people. And honorable members will know that is also very important to see different qualities of milk. And that has to do with the research in terms of what the cows are eating, because what they eat has an impact on the productions of the milk. Well, if we want to speak about false codling.
Order members. Order members. Honourable Minister, you may continue. Honourable Minister, please take your seat. Honourable members, order, there's a member on the floor. Honourable Minister, you may continue. Honourable Kama, what's your point of order?
Speaker, is it
order members?
Is it parliamentary really to waste our time like this? Because there was an ostrich and an egg, then there was a chicken there.
Order.
I was not safe here.
Honourable Kama, please take your seat. Honourable members, Honourable Kama, that is not a point of order, but it's very difficult for the chair or the presiding officer to dictate a response. That's not why we cannot dictate on a response and the content of a response. So the minister is responding to a question in whichever format or form he or she wishes to do so. So, Honourable Minister, you may continue. Order members, I'm not going to debate the content. I'm not debating the content of the submissions. That there was a question posed, and the question, and I'm allowing the minister to respond. Honourable members, I also want to remind you that all these interjections are taking up the time allotted for oral questions. And that's why I keep reminding you to not interject and allow the member to be heard. Honourable Minister, you may continue.
Of this side of the House will know that in the past weekend, members of this side of the House had to write a test to come back to this House. In order to write a test, you had to pass with 80%. And so we had to write the test, and the pass rate for the test was 80%. And the Premier then, based on that, asked us, ministers, if you answer questions, do it thoroughly, comprehensively, because the Premier said he judged his ministers by 95% in terms of answering the questions. So he told us, be comprehensive, be thorough. And I said, but they don't like me to lecture. He said, that's not lecturing, it's accountability to the teeth. So I am happy to answer this particular question. I think the honourable members will know the real matter of it. In this whole debate here, there are three things. Number one, the functional responsibilities of land reform is the national government responsibility, but the Honourable Member Kasim gave me a clue. Honourable Member Kasim gave me a subtle message. She said, invoke Section 99. That's the first part of this debate. The second part of the debate is, where is the evidence that the ANC is failing? It is in their own report, 90% failure rate. Where's the successful rate according to the ANC? By the way, for those who don't know, DPME, the Department, Performance Monitoring and Evaluation in the Office of the President, my friend, Mr. Klaas, through the Speaker, DPME, they assess independent assessment. They came here and says, Western Cape, 72% successful rate, national government, 90%. So evidence, the Premier, when he became the Premier, said evidence-based research and data. So the data says there is a case for Honourable Member Kasim that land reform must be transferred to the Western Cape Provincial government. And the third dimension of this debate makes it furthermore, Honourable Member Kasim and Honourable Member Klaas, I'm so happy because you are always asking about land. And I think Honourable Member Isaac is now chairing an ad hoc committee that makes it possible to add something to that effect. And Honourable Member will know that there are the following functions: A, trade, harbours, exports, police, and public transport. But there is an F possibility, and the F possibility, because ABC 5 is E, F is number 6, there's a possibility to expand that opportunity. And that is really the subject of Section 99 of the Constitution. The Premier has informed me that he has now asked the President to call a PCC, Premier's Coordinating Council. PCC. I'm going to ask the Premier, when he goes to see the President, to please ask the President to, you are right, when you said I can't invoke it, sorry, I agree. Leader of official opposition, you have some knowledge, and it matters in this House.
Honourable Minister, please conclude. That's the end of question time, so please conclude.
No,
Order, members.
I'm now disappointed.
Order, members.
This interjection from this side of the House.
Order, members. Minister, please conclude.
Okay. I think, Honourable Speaker, when the Premier go and see the President, Honourable Member Kasim, one of the instruments that you have as a member of this House, you can write a letter and say to the Premier, I hear.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Please take your seat.
That you can inform the Premier.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of oral questions, questions for oral reply. The outstanding replies will be printed in Hansard. Honourable members, we now move on to questions to the Premier without notice in terms of Rule 204. I just want to remind the honourable members that 2 follow-ups by the member posing the question which relates to the original question or reply may be posed. I recognize the Honourable Nkondlo. I've been informed by the table staff that they are not, that Honourable Nkondlo is not on the hybrid system and Honourable Nkondlo is not in the chamber. Honourable members, I therefore move on to the next questioner, and I recognize the Honourable Kaiser Philander.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, through you to the Premier, Last week, the quarterly labour force survey and quarterly crime stats were released. The Western Cape had the lowest number of unemployment and the most jobs created this past year, and the crime stats highlighted reductions in rape and in murder. Honourable Speaker, what do these two sets of stats tell us about the provincial government's interventions to create jobs and reduce crime against the background of a national government in decline? Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much,
Sweetheart
Honourable
question.
Chief Whip. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much to the Honourable Chief Whip for that question. You know, Speaker, you try to prepare yourself for all different kinds of questions that come to the House. And I was thinking about the Honourable Nkondlo's questions, and I thought they would be quite similar. So thank you very much to the Honourable Chief Whip. First of all, the quarterly labour force survey stats. Again, I must say, encouraging. Of course, the question also goes to South Africa and the position our country finds itself in. And I think what's coming out at the moment is that, quite frankly, for a government, we're in deep trouble because our money comes in through taxation, and we're seeing articles starting to surface now, and the Treasury starting to put documentation out that says, quite frankly, the envisaged taxable income is not the same as what is actually being raised, and that has a huge implication for us now at the adjustment as well as next year's budgets, because we are in deep trouble. And I think primarily the issue is around employment, or should I say the unemployment rate, especially amongst young people, which is way out of kilter. So if I look at, first of all, the quarterly labour force survey, and I actually happen to have that document here, which was quite encouraging for me, because quarter after quarter, we're seeing some good job stats coming in for the Western Cape. And quite interesting, Speaker, if every member could have seen this graph, if you look at it at that line, the lowest unemployment rate in South Africa happens to be in the Western Cape. And in actual fact, our unemployment rate dropped by 6.6% in this quarter. And yeah, absolutely, 6.6% down in this quarter. So now we're sitting at 20.9. I really hope that we, in the next quarter, break that 20% mark. Whereas, of course, in other provinces, go right up to 39% on the narrow. And that's first what I'm talking about. Of course, expanded in some provinces up to 53% unemployment rate, where ours is 25%. And of course, so the quarterly labour force, and then maybe also looking at where those jobs are. So in this province, you know, most of those jobs, if you look at categories, sit in the agricultural sector. That's where the most sit. Then right behind that, manufacturing, construction, and then finance. So quite frankly, if you add all that together, it shows that it's actually the blue-collar jobs that are being created in this province, which for me is quite exciting to see in this quarterly report. But if you go back to previous ones, I mean, the one that really stood out was the last quarter of last year, where we were over 90% of South Africa's jobs in this province. We are still in the metro, more jobs created in the city of Cape Town than all of the other metros in the country put together, and we are 368,000 jobs up on year. That is actually a 15, if I remember, it's 15.7% is the jobs growth year on year in our province. So yeah, I look at that and I must say thank you very much to everybody who's involved, from an enabling environment in government, but also from the entrepreneurs, the investors, people who move here from other parts of the country because it's a good place to do business, investors from around the world, it's a good place to do business, and those all end up giving our citizens jobs. And of course, that links through to the question that she asked about the crime stats. And again, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that sitting with Minister Allen yesterday, sitting with the PC, the Provincial Police Commissioner, General Patakile, and going through these stats with the press yesterday, once again, the murder rate in our province down by 5.5%.
And the interesting thing is the only province where we're seeing murder rate decline, and it's 5.5% in the province and 5.7% in the hotspot murder areas, which has even a greater decline, 5.7%, which goes to talk about how do you bring those two together, jobs and safety. I always think that nothing stops a bullet like a job. Nothing gives you dignity like a job. Nothing puts food on your table like a job. So, of course, those things do come together. They are critical that we've got to get that environment to really work where they come together, creating an enabling environment that makes a big difference. And then, of course, are you focusing on energy? Because that's a big driver nationally. And, of course, we've got an energy plan. I don't see many energy plans in other provinces. Hopefully, between the national energy plan and, of course, between our 1.1 billion in the province, from the province and the municipalities joining that, nearly a 7 billion rand plan in this province, 5,700 megawatts. That gives confidence again to investors to say we can actually bring this together to create jobs and grow an economy, at the same time making it safer in our province. So to the Honourable Chief Whip, those two nexuses, the job creation and the safety, are critical, and you can't get one without the other. Perhaps what I must also do at the same time is say to the law enforcement officers, to the police, to the neighborhood watchers, to everybody involved in that system, thank you very much for what you do. I must also say that another number stands out for me, and that is we talk about gender-based violence and sexual offences, rape, etc. And rape down by 10.1%. That, again, a good number, and we need to keep on pushing these numbers. The one that does really concern me is gangsterism, gangs, and, of course, so much of our youth death rate in the murder space, murder of youth, sits in gang violence. And, of course, this province, we've got a lot of work to do. 166 out of 193 murders in gang-related murders are in this province. And there again, my interaction with the police commissioner is how do we make sure that the anti-gang unit really starts to up its game. I was very happy to see when Fet Murphy was put away using the Poker Act. That really starts to talk about how we use our legislation. And of course, we know that when Al Capone was brought down, he wasn't brought down for shooting people, killing people, robbing people. He was brought down through taxes. And we've seen the same thing where financial records are used, using data from cell phone systems, and we actually bring a gang boss down. And when you do that, again, creates confidence that we are getting somewhere and starting to bring about change. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Chief Whip, your first follow-up.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the Premier for the response. I think it's also applaudable for the Premier to make mention of these various sectors that contributes towards the success in terms of jobs and safety within the province. Honourable Speaker, to the Premier through you, how will the Western Cape's growth for job strategy lead to even greater job creation within the Western Cape? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I think this House is aware that the growth for jobs strategy is, you've got to keep on re-looking and reinventing your jobs strategy. I think a lot of the stuff that we did in the past, we can be very happy with, and we can brag about some of the interventions, for example, airlift, etc. But you've got to take those and say, post a COVID-19 environment, the whole world is financially in deep, deep trouble. I've spoken about the situation that we find ourselves in South Africa. What are we going to do within the province? How do we get the breakout growth? How do we set ourselves some really hairy targets in a R1 trillion economy? In a R1 trillion economy, looking forward, that's a nice growth trajectory to set your targets on. And of course, that's exactly what we are doing. And we've got the 7 focus areas. We're really going to town to say, how do we make sure we really push these boundaries, every single one of them? We are really showing that we can do it. And I think that really starts to set the broad targets of what we want to reach, showcases hope in South Africa that this province actually can make that difference, drop those unemployment levels, create opportunity for young people, the NEETs in our system, give hope to people still in the schooling system because we've got catch-up programs, really going to town with after-school programs and making sure it's safer out there. We've got to make sure that we are always trying to do new things, different things, and push those boundaries. Because I think the opposite is what we see too often at national government level. We keep on driving the same thing. 30 years later, we're still driving the same thing, and the unemployment rate gets worse. And the youth unemployment rate is the worst in the world. That can't get worse. We are the worst in the world. But those things need innovation, change. And I like to think that's exactly what we're trying to do through the Growth for Jobs plan.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Chief Whip, your second follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The Premier has made mention of it in his initial response, but through you to the Premier, how has the Western Cape government's whole of society approach contributed to the decline in crime statistics, and what more can be done? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think that really goes to the nub of saying that there are so many, and back to the safety plan specifically, every department has got a role to play. And then, of course, that's the partnership between whole of society, that's whole of government and the whole of society working together. So, for example, in safety, it's just as critical that the volunteerism through neighborhood watches is recognized, supported, and helped and linked to different departments playing a role, whether it's safety in schools or whether it's after schools programs or whether it's the violence prevention that we're setting up and seeing happening coming out of the health department and the role that that plays with safety and security oversight, looking at different ways of doing things and pushing those boundaries that we actually start to make it safer. Because if you get that right, it is the only way that we can really start to create more confidence in the system, that citizens feel that in actual fact, they can let their children go to school safely. It links through to the earlier discussions we were having with the Honourable Mackenzie and the debate around school transport. You know, when you wake up in the morning and your child leaves to go to school, knowing that your child has got a safe way of getting to school, it's going to be safe at school and they're going to be looked after and safely come back at home tonight. That is the fundamentals that we've got to get right, which are entrenched in our constitution, and we've got to really work hard that we get that right across the whole of society and across the whole of government. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable members, that brings us to the end of that question. The next question will be posed by Honourable Maran. Honourable Maran, I recognise you.
Thanks very much, Speaker. Through you. On the 11th of March of May, a delegation, Agriculture Standing Committee, we left for California. And part of the agenda was AGOA, our agenda. So when we arrived there, our first meeting was with the Consul General of South Africa, Tandile Babalwa Sundusi. And she advised us not to open the discussion of AGOA with senators and whoever. And she explained to us why, because it's a national to national discussion, the AGOA Act. And Speaker, through that whole time that we were there, some members tried to open the debate and discussion of AGOA. And every time we were rejected. Americans refused to discuss the issue of AGOA. And they told us, I'm coming to the question, they told us it's a national to national discussion. And I'm not sure in their return whether they have misled the Premier. Speaker,
Honourable Maran, please get to the question.
Can the Premier justify the spending of 1.6 million on a trip to the United States to go and meet with staff members on the issue of AGOA?
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Honourable Maran, your first follow-up question.
Well, the Premier is admitting that they have met with staff members, not Congress members.
What is your question?
Speaker, we have seen the list of people the Premier and his delegation met with. It was a holiday. The ANC will be following up with more questions on exactly what was achieved. Can the Premier Speaker tell us why members of the US Congress refused to meet with him and his delegation?
Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much. And there is nobody from the US Congress that refused to meet with us. And if I go through the list that has been supplied to the members. So first of all, Senate Foreign Relations Committee members. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members that we met there. Then the Committee on Ways and Means.
Order, members. Honorable Premier, please take your seat. Honorable members, there was a question to the Premier. This is questions without notice to the Premier. The only person that can ask the Premier question is the person that is printed on the question paper, which is Honorable Maran. The Premier is trying to respond to Honorable Maran. Honorable Premier, you may continue.
Very much. Then, of course, there's the Committee on Ways and Means, which is a very critical committee when it comes to this piece of legislation, because the Honorable Maran was correct. It's a piece of legislation. It is not a trade agreement. A trade agreement is what is entered into between countries. This is a piece of legislation, and that's where the ANC get it absolutely wrong. And actually, in actual fact, that's where our embassy gets it totally wrong as well. But if we want some issues on the embassy and the ambassador, I'm glad the ambassador is now no longer going to be there, because I can give you chapter and verse on what happens in our embassy in the US, and it is really sad. But of course, the Committee on Ways and Means, that is a very serious committee, specifically on the drafting of the new legislation, which is going to be the follow-on to the current piece of legislation, which is AGOA. Then, of course, there's the US Trade Representative. That's a very serious office on with regard to trade between Africa and the USA. Then there's the House Foreign Relations Committee. There, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 members that we had meetings with. And then, of course, there's the staff in the office of Senator Coons. And it wasn't only Senator Coons, because a number of the other senators, their office staff came along as well and joined us in that meeting. But of course, it goes way further than just the engagement with the people who are drafting and the committee members on this piece of legislation that are going to be looking at the legislation with reference to AGOA and us. And of course, the honourable member talks about the costs of the trip. So AGOA was one part of the trip. If we just take one other part of the trip, which was meeting with companies and investment companies, etc., linked to South Africa and the biggest source market for foreign direct investment. And we just take one action that came out of that visit and the ongoing interaction with Amazon, and them opening up a skills training center in this city, in this province, for 1 million training opportunities for this continent based right here. Let alone any of the other, and we'll get to some of the others, I'm sure, in the next while. But let's talk back about AGOA and the millions and millions of rands worth of economic opportunity that represents for us here. And it's quite interesting that very soon thereafter, all of a sudden, a big wake-up call from South Africa. And what do? We send 3 more ministers off to go and do exactly the same thing. And it was quite interesting. And it was quite interesting. It was quite interesting because, you know, that I had to make a call to the Minister of Finance, our Minister of Finance there, to say, please answer your phone because Senator Coons says he will meet with you. And they weren't even going to meet with him. He said, I will clear my diary and I will meet with you. I had to intervene from here in South Africa to get a meeting set up for our finance minister in America, because I promise you.
Honourable Premier, your time has expired. Please conclude.
But perhaps we should also juxtapose this with the same visit at the same time to Russia, where a huge expense of chartered aircraft sitting in Poland with nothing happening.
Thank you,
massive
Premier.
expenses of South African
Thank you very much,
taxpayer which is a great juxtaposition
Thank you, Premier.
of these two
Please take your
items.
seat.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Honourable members, that brings us to the end to questions to the Premier without notice. We now move on to statements by members as in terms of Rule 145. I recognise the DA.
Baie dankie, agbare speaker. Amper 30 jaar in demokrasie en die pad wat ons gestap het onder die leierskap van die ANC, het Suid-Afrika teleurgesteld gelaat. Speaker, ons mense is moeg van onvervulde beloftes, 'n struikelende ekonomie en misdaad. Ons lewe in gemeenskappe waar ons tragies verneem dat iemand is vermoor en verkragt, niks meer ongewoon is nie. Die sopkombuislyne word langer, mense sukkel en hulle is moedeloos. Agbare speaker, en ongelukkig bied hierdie omgewing en omstandighede 'n vrugbare grondgebied vir opportunistiese leiers. In hierdie uitdagende tye en met die naderende verkiesing staan Suid-Afrika op die rand van verandering. Nou meer as ooit moet inwoners opstaan en hulle stemme uitbring ten gunste van geloofwaardige leierskap en bestuur. Suid-Afrika het die ANC in 1994 'n kans gegee en vandag gaan dit al hoe slegter met ons. Die 1994, the better life for all, bly onvervuld en vergete. Speaker, ek staan vandag op as 'n vrou van kleur in die Weskaap, Suid-Afrika en nie die ANC, EFF of Patriotic Alliance praat vir my as hulle rassehaat of diskriminasie aanhits nie. Ek staan vandag as 'n vrou wat hierdie land op haar hart dra. Ek staan op 'n fondasie van vryheid, regverdigheid, geleenthede en diversiteit en dat in hierdie land van ons daar 'n geleentheid vir elkeen bestaan. Hulle praat nie vir my nie. Hulle praat nie vir Suid-Afrikaners nie. Ons wil hierdie land laat werk en Suid-Afrika sal werk in 2024. Speaker, ek het vertroue dat ons gemeenskappe die ware betekenis van leierskap erken. Een wat tasbare resultate lewer, nie leë beloftes nie. Een wat eenheid bou, nie verdeeldheid saai nie. Die onderskeid in geloofwaardigheid sien en ondervind ons in die DA regering.
Chief Whip.
Leiers wat vermoë bewys en werklike veranderinge binne ons gemeenskappe teweegbring. Ek dank u, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Baie dankie, agbare hoofsweep. I now recognize the ANC.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Barnes, I recognize you.
Thank you, Speaker.
You may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the African National Congress in the Western Cape Legislature is deeply concerned about the high prevalence of sexual offences, especially rape, in the province. The recent crime statistics showed that sexual offences decreased by 8.6%, but remain alarmingly high at 1473 incidents between April to June 2023. Rape decreased by 10.1%, but remain extremely high at 1,002 cases in 3 months. 8 of these were educational facilities like schools and daycare and aftercare facilities. These crimes are an attack on the very fabric of our society. These statistics are a clear indication that we are not doing enough to fight GBV and femicide. A clear example of this, MEC Mackenzie, is the fact that Feral Pain in your department remains in his job while he is at court for serious crimes against women. We call on the provincial government to put in more resources to address this scourge and protect women and girls from violence. We call for more support to survivors of rape and other forms of GBV, including increased access to safe housing, counseling, and legal assistance. We also need to invest in prevention programs that educate young people about consent and healthy relationships. When the ANC governed the Western Cape, the Department of Community Safety sponsored GBV counseling rooms with a counselor at various police stations in the Western Cape. Instead of being armchair critics, we call on the DA government through its safety plan to bring back similar interventions to address the rape scourge, GBV and femicide. The government must take urgent action to address this crisis. We cannot afford to wait any longer. Speaker, drug-related crimes in the Western Cape have increased by 12.4%, and 23 out of the top 30 stations for these
Thank you very
crimes
much,
are
Honourable
in the
Barnes.
Western
Your
Cape.
time has expired.
MEC
Please
Ellen,
conclude.
this is a serious concern that needs your attention. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Barnes. I now recognize the EFF.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the EFF in the Western Cape would like to reaffirm its objection to the DA's Provincial Powers Bill. We are not surprised by the separatist maneuver by the DA because for the longest time they have been working behind closed doors, colluding with the imperialist forces in the form of the United States to separate the Western Cape completely from the rest of SA. With an
Order,
aim to create a
members.
pseudo-state in which the interests of whites would be
Order.
protected at the expense of the black majority. This bill is basically a precursor of the pseudo-state, and its unintended consequences will have far-reaching effects on the integrity of the country's constitution and that of our nation. This DA has not learned a
Members.
lesson that South Africa is not a federal state where provinces can just opt out of South Africa, Speaker, and declare themselves a sovereign mini-state with powers that supersede the ultimate powers vested in the Constitution, which is the supreme law of this land, Speaker. This DA have not come to terms with the fact that apartheid is no more and that racism has no place in a democratic dispensation.
Honourable Kasim, my apologies for you interrupting you. Please take your seat. Can I please ask the members on my right-hand side to please allow the member on the floor the opportunity to deliver a member's statement? As per the rules, a member of the executive have an opportunity at the end to make comments or rebut any statement. So please allow the member to have that opportunity. It is allocated as in terms of the rules. Honourable Kasim, my apologies. You may continue.
Speaker, was saying this DA have not come to terms with the fact that apartheid is no more and that racism has no place in a democratic dispensation. Hence, they will stop at nothing to spit in the face of those who died in defense of this land. This controversial bill is a microcosm of the deep-seated underlying aspiration and interest of the superiorist white right-wingers who want to summon the spectre of apartheid into a democratic dispensation with an intention to usurp the powers of national government on policing, public transport, energy, harbours, and other key instruments that define a state in order to proclaim themselves as the state. If this DA wants to run this country, they must contest elections and stop taking shortcuts. This bill is nothing else but an insult and spitting in the face of all our heroes and heroines who died defending this land. Here with the EFF in conclusion, the EFF Western Cape call on all the residents of this province, political parties, civic organizations, progressive forces, and people of goodwill to publicly reject this bill as it seeks to undermine the spirit of this country's constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kasim. I now recognize the DA.
Anbulele Sablomo, Honorable Speaker, in the halls of this House, we often find ourselves overlooking the tremendous influence we have over the lives of the very people we are entrusted to represent. As members of this House, we took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws that underpin our republic. We have been entrusted to serve as beacons of responsible leadership. We must ensure that our actions remain firmly grounded in principles that avoid the spread of violence, the sowing of chaos, and the endorsement of mindless destruction. Colleagues, in the wake of the recent events, our province witnessed scenes that are both disheartening and distressing. Swellendam, a community we hold dear, bore witness to an unforgivable outbreak of protest that was marred by acts of sheer violence, unchecked looting, and the municipal building being engulfed in flames. It is crucial to underscore that these criminal acts serve no higher purpose but to disrupt essential services and sow division within our society. Honorable Speaker, while the DA believes in the right of our citizens to engage in peaceful protest, it is important for us to emphasize that such expression must be conducted within the bounds of respect for public and private property. The essence of peaceful protest lies not in the destruction of what we have painstakingly built together, but in the elevation of our voices to articulate our concerns and aspirations. The act of vandalizing property, resorting to violence, or partaking in looting only diminishes the legitimacy of the very cause we seek to champion. As representatives of the people, let us commit ourselves to the ideals of responsible leadership and the pursuit of meaningful change through channels that uplift rather than shatter the foundation of our society. I thank you. Bayadanki.
Thank you very much, Honourable Seleko. And I recognize Good.
Honorable Speaker, the Good Party would like to highlight the plight of the elderly and the disabled in our province today. As we approach yet
Honorable
another...
Speaker,
de
daar's
Villiers, my
iemand op die lyn
apologies.
wat
Can I
moet
please ask that the ICT staff please mute all microphones on the hybrid sitting or hybrid system? My apologies for the interruption. We have stopped the clock. So you may start again, or you can start afresh, Honorable de Villiers.
Maybe somebody else from Good. Busy.
Order members. Honorable de Villiers, you may
The
start.
Good Party would like to highlight the plight of the elderly and the disabled in our province today. As we approach yet another festive season, our elderly will again be mostly forgotten, abused, or even raped. I would like to suggest to this House that a special investigating committee be formed to look at the very dire and shocking situation of the elderly and the disabled in the Western Cape. The city of Cape Town faces a crisis with the growing numbers of people living on the streets. Is this Department of Social Development aware that during the recent count of those living on our streets and shelters, it was found that 76% of those living on the streets are the elderly and the disabled? We need to investigate this, and we need to address the fact that it is our grandmothers, grandfathers, mothers and fathers who are being forced to live out their lives in shelters along with gangsters, criminals, and others that use shelters as refuge from the law. Globally, people are living longer. With a life expectancy rate of individuals reaching all-time heights, if we do not start looking at and addressing these phenomena, none of us are fit to govern this country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable de Villiers. I now recognize the ACDP.
Honorable Speaker, Western Cape ICDP leaders received a message from a pastor in Paarl on Saturday when we addressed leaders in Paarl. The message which we received via WhatsApp, the resident of Paarl said the following: "Good morning, Pastor. Can you help me to write a letter to management? As a result of my faith and conviction, I'm against abortion. Is there any colleagues of your church that can help me to write this letter?" A nursing sister, because of a Christian faith, has taken a stand against abortion, yet she must assist with aborting babies. Let's put it bluntly. She must kill innocent lives. She must murder innocent babies. Now, as Christians, we are guided by the word of God, the Bible, which reads as follows. Jeremiah 1 verse 5. "I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as a prophet of nations." Psalm 139 verse 14 says, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful." As the ACDP, we are asking the Western Cape government to exempt medical practitioners due to their faith from killing the unborn, because this nursing sister does not want blood on her hands where she is killing innocent babies. We know there's life after death, and she will have to stand in front of God to explain why she killed innocent babies.
Thank you, Honorable Christian.
Thank you.
I recognize the ANC. Order members. I recognize the ANC.
Thank you very much, Speaker. As the ANC, we rise today to congratulate President Cyril Ramaphosa and his administration on hosting a successful BRICS summit in the last few days, meeting under the theme BRICS and Africa, Partnership for Mutually Accelerated Growth, Sustainable Development and Inclusive Multilateralism. The summit hosted over 40 heads of government or state. The successful summit has once again put South Africa on the map, showcasing not only our country and its people as an ideal destination for investment worth visiting, but also as a leader on the African continent. While there were a number of events and engagements in the lead up to the summit, which in fact commenced at the beginning of the year already, the summit itself was a culmination of the themes of this year's work of BRICS under South Africa's leadership. And this work and priorities include developing a partnership towards an equitable and just energy transition, transforming education and skills development for the future, unlocking opportunities through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, strengthening post-pandemic socio-economic recovery, and the attainment of the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development, strengthening multilateralism, including working towards real reform of global governance institutions, and strengthening the meaningful participation of women in the peace processes. There should be little doubt that the successful BRICS Summit held will have immense benefits for the Western Cape and our country, and we encourage the provincial government of this province to work with the ANC-led national government to bring these benefits home to the people of our province. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Dagmore. I recognize the DA.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. As Women's Month draws to a close, I would like to highlight the importance of government, civil society and communities coming together to protect the most vulnerable amongst us. Gender-based violence is a gross human rights violation with significant personal and economic impact on victims and survivors, the extent of which disproportionately affects women, children, and others. I would like to commend Minister Shana Fernandez and the Western Cape Department of Social Development for their continued and relentless efforts to eradicate the scourge from our society. I want to draw particular attention to the West Coast District municipalities hosting a summit on gender-based violence and femicide in Riesberg on the 1st of August 2023, with stakeholders from local, provincial and national governments and the NGO sector. Speaker, the main aim of this summit was for different role players to come together in finding effective solutions to the plight of violence which negatively affects women and children. At this summit, the Minister unpacked the provincial GBV implementation plan and its key interventions. This plan seeks to establish a GBV transversal task team that meets every month, increase rollout of GBV services and extend interventions on the ground. Speaker, I think what the summit has highlighted is that it is important that we utilize this month to amplify the skirts of GBV. The fight to eradicate it remains a continuous fight, a whole of society effort, a whole of society approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Plato. I now recognize the Freedom Front Plus.
Thank you so much, Speaker. The Freedom Front Plus was shocked by President Ramaphosa's brag and announcement of South Africa's growing trade with BRIC countries. We have negative trade figures with China, importing far more and exporting very little of our own manufactured goods to BRICS and to China especially. Through strike action by Saktawu, most clothing and shoe factories in the Western Cape were forced to shut down since 1994. Bolton Shoe Factory in Elgins River shut down, costing 900 jobs. Outdoor Footwear shut down, costing 600 job losses. Watson Shoes in Brakrivier was shut down, costing another 170 jobs. In 2017, we were faced with 24 clothing factories shutting down, with more than 4,700 people losing their jobs, mostly colored women. The ANC has saddled a Chinese communist horse. While some cadres might enjoy the ride, those who place bet on that horse stand to lose everything they built up before and even after 1994. Unless South Africa call a halt to their gambling in 2024 and vote for those parties who signed the multi-party charter for South Africa, calamity after calamity will follow upon us. And like the leader of the opposition said, I want to extend his map. The map he must look at is the map that will put us on the map of another failed African state.
Thank you, Honourable
Nothing
Marie.
new in Africa.
Thank you,
Failure.
Honourable Marie. Your time has expired. I recognize Al-Jamaa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, during the taxi strike, we have seen the full might of the law enforcement officials. We urge the province and the city of Cape Town to apply the same heavy-handedness in eradicating gangsterism and drug peddlers in the townships of the Cape Flats. Every day, innocent people are being killed because they have refused to join gangsters and to become part of the drug trade. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Brinkers. I recognize the DA.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, the energy crisis remains with us and remains at the top of this government's agenda. Recent months have seen the Premier lead an exploration of our energy sector. Our government has considered not only how we can end load shedding for good in our province, but also how we can reform in the energy sector as a whole. The consensus from the experts is at once encouraging and frustrating. The brightest minds of the global industry tell us that a technology-led transition to a decentralized renewable energy economy will pay dividends, and that it is possible to do this sooner than we think. But the sole obstacle to this brighter, cleaner future remains national government. They would prefer us to keep the overly centralized, fossil fuel-driven system that we currently have, and that has been proven not to work. We know this is why this is the case. It is because the ANC is so scared of its imminent loss of power that it fears taking the necessary action that will fix this country. But today, let us focus on the positives. It is abundantly clear that this government is taking the necessary steps to emancipate this province from the failing national power utility and more generally from the failing national government. We are moving forward with it while the rest of the country is moving backward. And while this is a testament to this government's great work, it is not our end goal. We want to rescue South Africa, not just here in the Western Cape, but across the country. Come 2024, we will. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. Honourable members, in terms of Rule 145, subsection 6, I now give one or more members of the executive present an opportunity to respond to members' statement for not more than 5 minutes collectively. Are there any members? I recognize the Minister Allen.
Speaker, thank you so much. I wish to state categorically that the Western Cape government remains committed 365 days of this year to end the scourge against gender-based violence. Just last week, myself and the Premier conducted oversight visits at the South African Police Service, and we deliberately also went to our victim-friendly rooms because we are wanting to ensure that where we have oversight over the South African Police Service, it must lead to better service delivery. Member Barnes is correct that rape is decreasing in our province based on the stats that was released. Also sexual offences, but no one on this side of the aisle is happy with that. We would never want any person to be raped. Any person that rapes a person personifies evil, and we want those persons to be behind bars. I can also confirm that any person that is a victim of gender-based violence can contact any of our local DSD officers. They can also contact the toll-free number 0800 428 428. Because as a caring government, Speaker, we are wanting to ensure that safe houses can be accessed for those that need that particular assistance. But also, together with the Premier, we have also conducted oversights in terms of monitoring the implementation of the Domestic Violence Act, because we want to ensure that the law actually works for those that are survivors so that these perpetrators are held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister Allen. I recognise the Honourable Minister Maynard.
Thank you, Speaker. I just can't help noticing that the Honourable Aisha Kasim seems to be stuck in the past, fighting the Cold War. I think it's important to remind her that the Cold War is over and that the United States won. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Are there any further input, Honourable Premier?
Thank you very much. I think that I must refer to the statement by Al-Jamah and saying, that we need to throw as much as we can at gangsterism, specifically on the Cape Flats. And I would refer him back to his coalition partner, the ANC, because they actually are where policing starts and stops. And I would get him to influence his coalition partner, the ANC, to support devolution of policing powers. But in the interim, that is the safety plan. We are taking resources and putting resources to making sure that we deal with crime in our province. And we don't have unlimited resources. We actually are quite strapped. But that safety plan, as we spoke about earlier, in the statistics that come out, you can see that where our resources are put in place, especially in those hotspots where gangsters are shooting and killing each other and actually taking away opportunity from our youth and taking away opportunity from our citizens, that is exactly what we are doing. And I really wish we had more power over policing so we could really focus on ridding our society of this of the scourge of crime. But of course, he also has some power because they are coalition partners of the African National Congress, who actually is where that determination happens. And I would suggest that in those coalition meetings that they have with the ANC, they really put forward devolution of policing powers to the provinces.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. Are there any further inputs by any members of the executive? If not, honourable members, that brings us to the end of members' statements. We now move over to motions of notices in terms of Rule 150. 151, my apologies. In terms of Rule 151, all notices of motions by members are required to be delivered to the Secretary for placing on the order paper. These motions have been duly submitted and are published on the order paper below the line. We now move on to motions without notices in terms of Rule 150. I would like to inform all honourable members that in terms of Standing Rule 150, pertaining to motions without notice, condolences and congratulatory were submitted to the Programming Authority prior to this plenary on the 22nd of August 2023, and members are also reminded that motions without notice pertaining to congratulatory and condolences will not be allowed in the sitting that have not been processed by the Programming Authority. I have been informed that in the Programming Authority meeting of the 22nd of August 2023, political parties did submit the names of honourable members in the desired order of speaking and who had wished to move a motion without notice in this sitting of the House. I will therefore, just for noting and for the purposes of minutes, call out the honourable members whose names have accordingly been submitted and approved. The following members' motions have been approved by the Programming Authority as follows. Honourable A.P. van der Westhuizen, Honourable G. Bosman, Honourable G. Bosman, Honourable L.M. Maseko, Honourable M. Kama, Honourable M.K. Syed, Honourable A.P. Barnes, Honourable A.P. Barnes, Honourable A.P. Barnes, Honourable M.K. Syed, and Honourable F.C. Christians. I now put the motions duly submitted and approved by the Programming Authority to the House. Honourable members, are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The motions will appear in the minutes of the proceedings and in Hansard in each individual member's names as if that member had read them out aloud. I will now afford the opportunity to members to move motions without notice as per Standing Rule 152, 150, subsection 2, subsection D, and this could also include motions without notice that were not approved in the Programming Authority meetings. Members are reminded that the 30 minutes as per Standing Rule 150, subsection 2, subsection D will start now. I recognize the Honorable Kasim.
Speaker, I move without notice for the House to take note that on Tuesday, 22nd of August, 2022, Khayelitsha residents marched to the Department of Home Affairs branch in Khayelitsha in order to voice out their frustration and concerns stemming from poor service delivery. Further note that the concerns raised by the community involve the manner in which they are mistreated by staff at the branch. The majority of the incidents at the branch involve lack of respect for members of society, capturing of the details on the IDs, resulting in invalid IDs being issued and remaining useless as the recipients cannot use them to open bank accounts, apply for work opportunities, or even study opportunities. We call on National Minister of Home Affairs to intervene on the matter and to make sure that the community receive better services.
Thank you, Honorable Kasim. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? No objection. Agreed to. I recognize the Honorable Kasim.
I move without notice for the House to take note that the South African women's cricket took great stepping stones yesterday with the launch of the Professional Domestic Women's League, which was launched at Freedom Park. Further note that the league will feature two main tournaments, including Cricket South Africa One Day Cup and Cricket South Africa Women T20 Challenge. This is a great achievement taking place during Women's Month, and we can only hope that this is the beginning of good things to come, especially with the inclusion and participation of women in sports. As the EFF, we also call on for the establishment of a professional women's football league in the country following the great achievement by the South African women football team by Banyana Banyana at the recent Women's World Cup recently held in Australia and New Zealand. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Kasim. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? No objections. Agreed to. I recognize the Honorable Class.
Democratic Alliance Mayor in the Drakenstein Municipality Contract Pool and members of his mayoral committee are being accused of facing allegation of corruption involving what is called pay for a job scheme. Further note that these are serious allegations made against members of a racist DA party that goes around pretending to be proponent of a good governance. Now that the allegation lay bare, the party is mulling its feet in getting to a bottom of this matter. In fear of how he will expose them as a corrupt party which is goes around putting corrupt people in the office. We hope that investigation against Pula and his cronies will begin as a matter of urgency in order to expose the rot that runs through the vein of the DA. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Class. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? Thank you, honorable members. There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honorable Class.
For the House to take notice that the Western Cape Department of Infrastructure has spent more than 161.7 million on the security alone in order to stop the construction mafia, which is in a bread of the same political party. Further note that the DA under Premier Ellen Wheeler wants everyone to believe that safety plan is active. Yet his
Order,
other
members.
department, which has not.
Order, members. Honorable Minister, Honorable Class, my apologies. Please take your seat. Honorable Minister, I will put the question and you can then raise your objection. But until such time, there's a member on the floor. Honorable Class, you may continue.
Please respect me. I'm reading here. You can object, but the fact you did hear what I'm saying. Further note that the DA under Premier Ellen Wynne wants everyone to believe that safety plan is effective, yet this other department, which has nothing to do with the safety plan, spend more money on security rather than operate on the provision for housing. Conclude by stating that the DA is cahoots with these mafia gangs and his money, which is pretended to pay for security purpose, in fact goes back to DA in form of kickback in order to fund their 2024 election campaign. The DA is corrupt, and it is now clear for everyone to see. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Class. Before I put the question, Honorable Marie, is that a point of order?
Yes, Speaker.
What's your point of order, Honourable Murray?
The member is casting aspersions on the Premier, and I ask if he might have to put a substantiated motion through if he's going to make such allegations.
Right, Honourable Murray, I will revert back to the House if needs be, but in the interest of moving forward, I will put the question. Honourable Klaas, please take your seat. Honourable members, there's only 30 minutes for motions. So now I'm going to put the motion. Are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection, and the motion will now be printed on the order paper. Honourable Murray, I recognize you.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I move without notice that the House notes and welcomes the 46 billion rand planned investment of Amazon Web Services in Cape Town, and notes that 15.6 billion rand of this amount has already been invested in setting up a footprint for Amazon Web Services in South Africa. Notes further that Amazon has opened their first international Amazon Web Services Skills Center in the mother city, which aims to provide accessible cloud skills training, including free foundational cloud training for people interested in cloud computing and a potential career within it. Notes further that big international investments play a key role in job creation in the Western Cape. And investments and high-profile companies like Amazon contribute to a growing reputation of the Western Cape as the tech hub of Africa. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Murray. Honourable members, are there any objection to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection. Honourable members, order members, there is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Murray. Order members, Honourable Murray.
Thank you again, Speaker. Speaker, I move that the House welcomes the Day of 1,000 Opportunities recruitment drive that took place in Athlone Stadium this week, where job seekers could interview with businesses in the BPO sector. Notes that 1,000 paid learnerships in the BPO industry were available in this event, and that the event targeted youth specifically, and that it will be a first employment opportunity for many of those participants. Recognizes that this is yet another example of innovation and empowerment by the Western Cape government, enabling successful public-private cooperation that will make a difference in 1,000 young people's lives. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Murray. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and it will be printed on the order paper. I now recognize the Honourable Seleko.
Speaker, I move without notice that this House notes that the Overstrand municipality has won the 2022 Municipal Waste Management Evaluation Award. This House further notes that the Stellenbosch municipality and the Saldanha municipality claim second and third place respectively. This House lastly notes that all three of these municipalities are DA run. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Seleko. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I now recognize the Honourable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I move without notice that this House knows that all the ministerial housing program of the Department of Infrastructure is currently on track. They have achieved a significant milestone with the accelerated successful delivery of homes to new homeowners in the Western Cape. This House must know that the ministerial projects have resulted in the completion of 1,696 housing units, with an additional 402 units to be completed by May 2024. Notably, the Düsseldorf project in Oudtshoorn commenced construction in September 2021, resulting in the delivery of 459 breaking new ground housing units as outlined in the project plan. Furthermore, the department will also allocate 75 service sites to individuals who were living on the land prior to the project's initiation but did not qualify for BNG units under the standard guidelines. The Mountain View project in Mossel Bay has yielded also impressive results, delivering a total of 1,003 units, of which 725 are BNG units that have already been handed over. Currently, the department is in the process of appointing an estate agent to facilitate the sale of the first home finance, previously called FLISP units, member class, through you, Speaker. This project addressed the needs of communities that have patiently awaited housing solutions for many years. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maseko. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honorable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I move without notice that the House knows the handing over of keys to beneficiaries at Our Pride Housing Project in Yesterefeer. Knows that Our Pride Housing Project is a first home finance program that has delivered 218 housing units. 2 units will be for breaking new ground, the remainder being FLISP. The 102 million project was geared towards making affordable housing more accessible to all citizens, and further notes that the Western Cape remains the leading province in the delivery of affordable housing programs. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maseko. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There's no objections. Agreed to. I recognize Honorable Bosman.
Honorable Speaker, I move without notice that the House recognizes the tremendous impact that Derek Watts had on South African journalism. He exemplified everything a journalist should be, hard-hitting and dogged when necessary, but governed by an enduring kindness and compassion that's shown through his work. That this House nominates Derek Watts for the Order of Ikamanga for his exceptional contributions to South African journalism.
We didn't get that on record. Can you move?
I so move.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Bosman. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? So there's an objection. Can you just, in the record, say that you object? Are there an objection? Honorable members, we can't negotiate. There's rules. Are there any objections to the motion?
We object that it's moved without notice.
Okay,
There
the
should-
motion will be printed on the order paper. I now recognize the Honorable Christians.
Speaker, I move without notice that the House notes with concern that bullying is starting from an early age at our schools. My motivation in an article by Tutuzelo Nene on the 11th of May 2023 in EWN. An 8-year-old grade 3 learner was cut by a grade 3 learner. Both of the learners of Stephen Road Primary School in Lotus River are in the same class. This was a potentially fatal attack on the learner, who by the grace of God survived the attack. This attack shows that bullying is rearing its ugly head among our learners at a young age. The ACDP advises the WCED to continue to be diligent and offer proactive programs that will stop this kind of delinquent behavior. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christians. Honorable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? No objections. Motion agreed to. I recognize the Honorable Windvogel.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I move without notice that the House notes with profound concern the recent accolade bestowed upon the City of Cape Town for its purported distinction as the best city. This recognition stands in stark contrast to the distressing reality faced by its impoverished residents who endure the offensive order of uncollected waste due to egregious mismanagement. We condemn the apparent prioritization of propagandist narrative over the welfare of our citizens. It is our solemn duty to call for an immediate review of this award, urging transparent accountability for the dire living conditions experienced by the marginalized. Let us voice our unwavering commitment, truth, and equitable treatment, and striving for genuine progress that extend to every corner of our city. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Windvogel. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. I recognize the Honourable Syed.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I move without notice that the House welcomes the decisive action taken by the National Department of Basic Education in enforcing the laws against bullying within our nation's schools. This vital step demonstrates our commitment to creating safe and nurturing environments for our learners to learn and thrive. By implementing these measures, we not only protect our children from the harmful effects of bullying, but also foster a culture of respect, love, and tolerance. Let us join in unity to support this initiative and ensure that the rights of our children to a safe and conducive educational experience is upheld. And let us together affirm our dedication to the well-being and future of our nation's youth. I so much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Syed. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There's no objection. Motion agreed to. I recognize the Honourable Maran.
Thanks very much, Speaker. On behalf of the Congress movement, I move that the House rises to call for a thorough inquiry into the allocation of 160 million rand by the Provincial Department of Infrastructure Human Settlements in the Western Cape. This substantial expenditure, ostensibly aimed at countering the extortion tactics of the construction mafia in combating the illegal occupation of vacant land and homes under construction, warrants careful scrutiny. In the interest of transparency and effective resource utilization, we must assess the strategies employed, evaluate the impact, and ensure that public funds are optimally utilized for safeguard of communities and promote lawful development. Let us uphold our duty to the public by seeking accountability and constructive solutions to these pressing concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Maran. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There's no objection. Motion agreed to. I recognize the Honourable Syed.
Honourable Speaker, I move without notice that this House notes with concern that there were basically 7 scholar transport vehicles which were impounded by the City of Cape Town at the Pelican Park Primary School on the 21st of August 2023 with no reasons provided nor any complaints lodged by the school. Learner transportation is important. Learner transportation is important to the educational accessibility, and such actions can disrupt the learning process. Whilst we value life, we urge for transparency and for open communication to address this matter promptly. It is imperative to ensure that we have a continuation of educational activities and the safety of our learners at all times. I so move.
Thank you very much, Honourable Syed. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice?
Yes, we object.
There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. Honourable Syed. Yeah.
Honourable Speaker, I move without notice on behalf of the African National Congress that this House notes with discontent the prevailing infrastructure challenges at Klipfontein Methodist Primary School in Philippi. We require urgent and collective action for this. We call upon all stakeholders, including the DA-led City of Cape Town, to join hands in addressing these pressing concerns. The absence of a proper road, a sewage system, and stormwater system severely hampers the school's functionality and compromises the safety and well-being of students and staff. We demand the immediate attention and immediate collaboration
to rectify these issues, ensuring a conducive learning environment. I so
Thank you very much, Honourable Side. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved without notice? There is an objection and the motion will be printed on the order paper. Honourable members, that concludes motions without notice, and that also concludes the business for the day. The Secretary will now end the meeting and all members will be exited from the sitting. The House is adjourned.